welcome to SnarkCast. I'm tired. I am here with Seven. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Lucky
And
Seven.
our guest today is Famous Last Words!
You should have put in a clap track there. That would have been awesome. Hey everybody, it's
I don't have
me.
Discord Nitro.
Famous last words. I forgot to ask, guys. Are there any words
Here,
like
hold
I'm
on,
not
hold
allowed to
on,
use on
hold on,
Twitch?
Dustin, hold on.
Congratulations! 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 Congratulations!
Thank you. Are there any words that you're not allowed to use on Twitch? Like, can I say
You can't say the N word, that's obvious.
okay, but like no slurs, but like,
No slurs.
what about like fuck, cock, and shit? Can I say?
I don't
something
care
like
about that. I have profanity
Yeah.
enabled. You can say that.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just no slurs.
Yeah,
Got
just
it.
no slurs, please. That should be obvious.
Also,
Don't
you
worry.
can't. Also, there are some dumb things you can't say. You can't say SIMPS.
Yeah, you
That's
can't
really
say
stupid.
it is. All right, but
Yeah.
you
What about
can't.
the word I just messaged you?
You can't say that.
I can.
You can't.
Oh, damn it. Okay, I think I got it, guys. Hi, everybody. I'm Famous Last Words, and now I know like what words I'm not allowed to say. Thank you.
When we were on the Barcast, as something emo and edgy, within the first minute, this dude broke the no politics rule. Like, it was so fast.
I'm pretty sure I also dropped the.
It was like 2018, and he was like, "So how about that Trump drama, guys?" And we are like, "Oh God, Dustin, shut up."
How about the wall? How does that sound?
I was actually listening to your Barcast interview yesterday, and I was reminded of stuff you did in your past, which got me wondering. Uh, you could have an insane history. There's the vomit story. What else is there?
Well, let's see. You got the vomit story. You got the Taco Bell plushie sex story.
Okay, let's hear that
Um,
one.
Just off the bat, you want to hear that story?
No. We gotta save
Oh no, no, no,
we gotta
no,
save the
that's-
raunchy stuff for a little bit further in. Also,
I know
you
it.
guys didn't miss anything in chat. We just started.
Yeah.
And don't worry. We'll tell that story later on. It's gonna be the story that gets people to click further into the video and get you
Yeah.
that sweet ad revenue.
Never mind. I remember which story that was. That was also on the Barcast.
Also,
All
by
right.
the way, real quick, just want to
here's-
interject. In chat, if you guys see ads, please let me know. I did disable them, so they shouldn't air, but please let me know if they do for some reason.
Yeah, and Mugany, what I'll do is I'll give you the extended cut version that I wasn't allowed to do on the Barcast because it was like a little too much. But I think for
Oh.
this podcast, it'll be fine.
Okay, and for those of you who are just tuning in, I am not drunk. I just woke up.
And I just got off work, and then Andrew is a little drunk, so
I'm a little
we're all
tipsy. I
learning.
went out to dinner with my parents and girlfriend, and I had like
Yes.
6 beers. So you know.
If I can't clear the brain fog, I'm just gonna let you take over 7.
I got you. Just let me know. But
Okay.
I know that you've devised a devious list of questions for our interviewee here.
No, I told you before that I was just gonna improvise it because I was gonna write the questions when I woke up.
We do know Dustin well enough too, anyways, that we can just improvise the questions. So
I love how prepared you are.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
Okay, well, Dustin, I know you're a big fan of the Jurassic Park series.
Don't use my real name on here. There's someone's gonna dox me and take all my medical bills.
Well,
Alright,
you could have just pretended it
sorry,
wasn't your real name.
Sorry about that, Frank. Anyways, go ahead and ask your questions real quick.
Okay, so I know famous that you're a really big fan of the Jurassic Park series.
Mhm.
You might be glad to hear that I am reading the book currently.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's a lot more violent and honestly kind of just has like a darker feel to it than the movie does.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, they had to make the movie more acceptable to a wider audience, but it's great. I love it.
I likes the baby scene. I like the baby scene. You don't see that a lot.
Oh,
Yeah,
the one with the baby T-Rex and what's his name?
No, the one where the baby's getting eaten.
yeah,
Oh,
by all the consignathuses.
oh, you're talking about at
Uh,
the start. Yeah. Okay. Wait. How far into it are
Yeah.
you?
I made it to the actual tour, the one where they're about to go on tour through the
Okay.
park.
Yeah. Because Dustin, you would know this in the original Jurassic Park book. There's actually a juvenile T-Rex that is not in the movie, and that's they put it in. They ended up putting that into the Lost World Jurassic Park.
yeah, it's weird because like the Lost World Jurassic Park is in some ways like it's a sequel to the movie, obviously, but they also tried to like retroactively make it apply to the book a little bit because the book was so popular. But then the second book, The Lost World, is more a sequel to the first movie than it is to the first book. It's a really weird time for like what do you call it? It's like a really weird franchise with how they did that between the books and the movies, and it's because Michael Crichton. I don't think he ever intended to write a sequel to Jurassic Park, but the movie was the highest-grossing film of all time until Titanic came out, so he was kind of forced into writing a sequel by his publisher, and then
Yeah.
just so they could make another movie.
And if I'm not mistaken, in the second movie, Roland Tembo, he's basically like, in that movie at least, he's basically an apology to the audience for killing off Muldoon in the first movie, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much because and like I wasn't old enough to really know what like the fandom or anything was like back then because Jurassic Park came out when I was point 0.5
One.
years
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
Um, but to my knowledge, Muldoon and now Roland are two of like the most popular characters from those films. People absolutely love them and it's partially because they have terrific actors that play those characters.
Roland's my favorite. His arc in the second movie, he's like a real dude. Like, it's great.
I really wish they would have never cut out that deleted scene where he just beats up that misogynistic dude who's like
Oh.
harassing the waitress because that sets up his character as like a good guy who you know just takes the whole hunting thing very seriously because he feels like he's done everything he can and in life so far. I just think that sets up his character a lot better than just instantly making you think he's a bad guy. But Spielberg essentially said that that scene made him too sympathetic, and he didn't want that. He wanted there to be clear-cut bad guys versus good guys, and
Which
I
is a
get it.
shame, because, yeah, but when you watch it, I mean, he's not really a bad guy, because it's like, his friend dies, his best friend dies, and he literally says that he doesn't care about having gotten the T-Rex anymore, because for him, like, with his friend dead, like, nothing really mattered anymore, and he just wanted to go home. Like, he wasn't a bad
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. His actual
Yeah.
line, he got offered a job at the park, probably making millions of dollars, and he was like, "No thanks. I've spent enough time near death." So
Yeah.
If there's any issue I have with the translation between book to film, it's that like the film simplifies everything the book explores, and I would actually say the themes in the book are a lot more clear cuts because you get more time they get more time to develop. Like you have the you see like the first signs that humanity isn't ready for Jurassic Park, kind of with that opening, that the baby getting eaten. Spoilers.
Well, I
yeah,
mean, if you've seen the
Yeah.
movies, that's the opening to the Lost World Jurassic Park. They just moved it to that one.
Um, oh yeah, but there's also like little things like there's a scene. Okay, when they first arrive on the island, the paleontologist finds this Jurassic fern that is right next to a pool, and it's actually in a really bad spot because of how poison it is, and it just goes to show how poorly planned out the park was and from the beginning. And it's just like little details like that that just that actually highlighted some of the parts that, like, I was really enjoying about the book, especially with the over reliance on technology. It's not really stuff I thought was apparent in the film that has gotten me to reconsider it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they make a really good point in the movie, the first one, the scene with the sick Triceratops, and she's looking at the poisonous plant, and she's like, "Hey, are they eating this West Indian lilac?" And the dude's like, "I don't think so," even though it's a toxic plant. And if you think about it, there's really no way for an animal to know what not to eat if it didn't evolve alongside that plant. So they didn't even think about having poisonous, plants in the same pens as the dinosaurs. It just, a lot of things don't make a lot of sense with how it was
I
set up.
mean,
It was definitely like Ian Malcolm said, where they thought about, even though I think John Hammond has good intentions, at least in the movies, he's kind of a douchebag in the
oh, in the book he's
book.
horrible, and he dies how he
Yeah,
should. Like,
but in the movies, I think he has good intentions. But it was definitely kind of what Ian Malcolm said, that before they even knew what they had, they patented it and started marketing it, and then wanted to sell it instead of giving it time to really see what they've created.
It's still a good movie, and if I'm gonna say something like that, the film did better. Is it's really it captured the wonder of bringing dinosaurs 20 to the 21st century, or in this case the 20th century, because it's the 90s.
I mean, the
I
whole
agree.
thing in the
I agree
movie. I
with
mean,
that.
just think of the theme that John Williams made. I mean, it's full of
Yeah.
wonder. It's just one of the most adventurous and whimsical themes he's ever made, and it's awesome. I just love
Oh,
it.
Honestly, the
not just that.
whole soundtrack is great.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere in storage, I have the physical CD for the soundtrack, and I love listening to that from time to time. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Not just that, but I watched the T-Rex scene, the scene where they first introduced the T-Rex scene. I watched that yesterday, and it's such a good fucking scene because as soon as the T-Rex comes on screen, you can tell they put a lot of science into how it would move, how it explored their environments. You can tell it's not just like this evil thing.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
just
this.
investigating.
Yeah, it's just this animal that is curious. You have it, it's playing with the car. At first, it thinks that the car is food, so it tries to eat it, and then it quickly figures out that it's inedible. You can just,
Yeah, like
you can
when it
just
eats the
tell so
tire
much
and it
about it.
throws it away. The funny
Yeah.
thing is when it caves in the roof of the car, that wasn't supposed to happen. And so the kid's reaction in that when the glass roof caves down on them is actually real. They were terrified when that happened
So,
because
so
it
you're
wasn't supposed to.
Jesus.
you're half right. It was supposed to cave in, but if you notice during the scene, it breaks in half during the second time,
Yeah.
and that
So
that
because
was not
the
supposed
T
to
Rex hit
happen.
it too hard.
Yeah, it was supposed to create kind of like a safety shield to prevent the animatronic from hitting them, and then when it broke a second time, they were actively trying to hold it up so it would they wouldn't get hurt.
That was great.
Real quick, I've actually got a really fun question for you since we're talking about these movies. I think I've talked to you a little bit about this, Andrew, but there are, to my knowledge, there are 4 Steven Spielberg films that got higher ratings as far as the MPAA is concerned. And then he got them lowered just because he wanted, he told
All
them that
right.
he
Are
wanted
you
to
wanting me
make
to
more
guess
money.
them?
Yeah, if you can, if there are 4, and
All right.
so
All
like
right. Let's guess these.
so like they were going to be rated R. Then he told them, no, I want it to be PG-13. So then they would change it so it can make more money. What 4 are they?
So Jurassic Park is one, isn't it?
The,
No, the
it's
Lost
no,
World
it's
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that one was rated R, and then
That
they
one was
had
rated R.
change it to PG-13.
Jaws is one of them.
Rated R and changed to PG because they didn't have PG-13 at the time.
I'm gonna guess Schindler's List might have been one of them.
That is correct. It was, I
Okay.
believe, it was rated NC-17
And then
because of how realistic it was.
the last one I'm gonna guess Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah,
No.
that one was.
It is? It is.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it was rated NC-17 for too much realistic violence.
I'm
So
surprised that Raiders of the Lost Ark wasn't rated R at least because it had Nazis in it and their faces melted off, bro. Like that's
Yeah,
brutal for the time.
to be fair, that was a time when like a movie like The Never-Ending Story had blood, nudity, and all kinds of crazy.
I mean, if you recall,
Goodness.
if you recall, James Rolfe talked about this on one of his movie reviews, but back in the 60s, they did a movie version of Bonnie and Clyde, and there's a scene where they get blasted in their car by like 400
Oh
bullets.
yeah.
Like hell gets rained upon them by those cops. And then shortly after that movie came out, the R rating came into effect. It's just so
Oh,
funny.
Well, it was Indiana Jones and was it the Temple of Doom? I think it was the Temple of Doom. No. You're right. It was Raiders of the Lost Ark that caused them to create the PG-13 rating, because they needed a rating that was higher than PG but not quite R-rated, and they created PG-13 because of that film.
Yeah,
I would
because like, dude, no one wants their kid who's like 11 to go and watch people's faces get melted off.
Yeah.
I would love to see the R-rated cuts of Jurassic Park. I wonder if it still
So
exists
the
out
Lost
there.
World Jurassic Park, all he did to get it changed to PG-13, because they made him do something, it was mainly because of just the scene where Eddie gets ripped in half by the T-Rex.
Yeah, it
That's
was
an
supposed to be
extreme-
really gory and like intestines hanging out and blood and stuff,
Well,
and then
Well, all he did was he darkened the scene to where
Yeah.
it wasn't as visible, because they said that scene was just a little too extreme.
because it was
for,
originally going to be like during
PG-13.
day, not during a rainstorm, right?
Well, yeah, but then he did the rainstorm just because the
Honestly,
T-Rex
the rains-
awesome in rain.
Well, and you know what's crazier? I think the rainstorm and the grittiness of it makes it even scarier than it would have been had it been bloody during the day. Like that
Oh, yeah.
scene has lived with me since I first watched it. That is a fucked up scene, dude. Like the only
is.
good smart character aside from Roland in the entire movie gets fucking destroyed because of his idiot friends.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. Seeing a man like torn in half, where you can actually hear like the bones and
You can-
skin.
You can hear him
it's-
screaming as he's in its mouth.
It's honestly like a shocking kind of violence to see in like a PG-13 movie. Like it's not something you expect.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is
now-
that the scene where the T-Rex eats the guy in the toilet?
No,
No,
we're
no,
talking
no.
about the
So that's
sequel.
we're talking about the sequel. There's a moment in the sequel where this
Uh.
character Eddie Carr, his friends basically took the juvenile T-Rex because its leg was broken, and they went to set it inside of their RV, and the T-Rex parents came back, and so they finished setting the leg, and they put the baby T-Rex outside, and the parents took it back to its nest, and then they came back and they were pissed, so they knocked the RV over the edge. But so it's like a double wide RV with like it's a double RV rather with a link between them. So they're in the bottom and they're like hanging off of the fucking cliff, and then the top RV, the second one, is up on the top, kind of holding them in place. So Eddie Carr has to come in and he hooks his Jeep up to the or his Mercedes, whatever the fuck it was in that movie.
The M class, yeah.
Yeah, the M class. He hooks it up to the nice advertising in that movie, by the way. I love how they zoom in on it, just so you remember. But he hooks it up to the RV and he starts like reversing to give them time to climb up with a rope that he had put down towards them. And then while he's doing that, the two T-Rexes come back and they pull him out of the Jeep the M class and rip him in half, and it's awful. It's
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
it's brutal because he's the only character in that movie that had like any fucking brains aside from Roland Tembo.
You know, you brought up a good point. I will argue that the Barbasol can from the first Jurassic Park is the best like screen advertising during a movie I've ever seen in my entire life, because they made the Barbasol can such an integral part of the film, and I waited my entire life as a kid until I was old enough to start having to shave, and I still use Barbasol to this day because of Jurassic Park. It's also why I drive stick shift vehicles, is because all the vehicles in the Jurassic Park films are stick shift.
Yeah, you know, earlier we were talking about things that don't make sense. There was one thing that Michael Crichton himself was asked about once, and he was basically like, damn, that's a shame, I don't know. And it was that the fucking plants don't make any sense because they get the DNA from mosquito blood because, you know, that were trapped in amber because they suck the dinosaur blood. So then I was watching this video with Dustin where it was this, God, I can't remember the name of the channel, but it's like the writer talking with the producer, and the producer's like mocking the writer the whole time. And at one point the producer's like, so wait, how did they get the plants, huh? Well, you know, if you're using the mosquito blood to get the dinosaurs, how did they bring the plants back? Mosquitoes don't exactly suck on that. Whoops. It's like, yeah.
It's like, oops.
And then someone asked Crichton about that, and he was like, yeah, someone asked Crichton about it, and he was like, well, I have an answer. It's a book.
Yeah. It's entertainment. So as much as I would love to just keep talking Jurassic Park for the entire podcast, you want to like get to the actual questions.
It's the best way to start it for you, though. It's very
I
on
know.
brand. Hey, you're the one who had me put the raptors from Jurassic World as the background.
It's my autistic obsession. Like, what do you want from me?
Okay. All right.
Okay, let's talk about Titanic instead.
I love Titanic. My second favorite movie.
Okay, actual question.
Your two favorite movies are the highest grossing ones of the 90s?
That's what I tell people. Like, I have a like whenever someone gives me a hard time about like liking obscure
No one
content
should
or
no
whatever,
one
or
should
being
no one
being contradictory.
no one should
I'm like,
fucking dislike you for hating a popular movie or contradictory things cuz like I it's the opposite for me. I hate when people make fun of you for liking something that's popular because it's popular for a fucking reason, bro. Everyone likes it. So like what's so shocking about me liking it too? Hello?
yeah, it was like that video James Rolfe made where he did like the top 10 films that he doesn't love, and he essentially just listed 10 of like the most popular films in the world that he's not a big fan of, and he's like, look, you guys don't have to argue with me. If a film's on this list, it means it's like universally praised already. Like, trust me, you've won. These movies are loved by everybody, and I'm just going to tell you why I'm not the biggest fan of them.
He didn't
And
like
then feature
Titanic, and
movies.
you know what? I respected him for saying
Well,
that.
he said Titanic was a beautiful film, but it just wasn't his cup of tea, and I respect it. Like, that's fine. But from a
Yeah.
directorial standpoint, he does like it because it is
So,
beautifully made.
what's your
Who,
favorite
me?
scene in Titanic?
So my favorite scene in Titanic is actually the dichotomy of when it goes from freaking Jack eating with the wealthy people dinner, him telling kind of his life, philosophy at the table, and then it bounces to the party down
The
on
party
like the
downstairs,
resort, right?
yeah, where they're dancing together.
Yeah, I love the dichotomy of those two scenes, and although I've never like really like ripped off Titanic, I've always used kind of like those two scenes as inspiration for like romance scenes are right when I'm trying to build a relationship where it's like it starts by just doing things together and realizing that you're having a great time, a better time than you would if the other person wasn't there. And I like to incorporate music a lot into those kinds of scenes. Like a lot of my stories feature characters going to a concert together or something like that. So I love the way they build those scenes because you almost throughout the course of Titanic you almost forget that the relationship they build between Jack and Rose is over the span of I think 2 days.
Yeah.
You almost forget that because it's
It's
written so well.
it's 4.5 days. They took off on April 10th and crashed and hit the iceberg on
April
two
12th.
at 11:30 p.m. on April 14th, and then sunk at 2:30 on April 15th. So yeah, it was about 4 days.
Yeah,
My
but the
my
writing is
favorite
so good.
scene is the one where Kathy Bates, Maggie Brown is teaching him how to be like fancy for when he goes to the dinner, and he's like sitting there and he's like looking so confused at the fucking silverware, and even she doesn't know, and she's like, "Just start from the outside and work your way in."
Yeah, because she's a quote unquote.
Because no, I get that because when I'm at a fancy dinner, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. Like I'm just a hodunk dude from Florida. Like what am I supposed to do here?
It's like that. It's like that episode of SpongeBob, The Great Snail Race, and Squidward buys that fancy purebred snail, and he's like, "I'm not going to let her hang out with your inbred Gary." And then it just
Yeah.
cuts to a shot of Gary with
Burping.
with like a missing tooth, smoking a pipe.
I love but this is my only night to be fancy. Sorry, someone rented out the whole restaurant.
All right, what
right,
you got for me, Muggany?
Yeah, what's your next question?
I got nothing.
I've got a good one,
Okay.
if that's the case.
What's up?
So Dustin, what made you want to write a fanfic for My Little Pony? What was the breaking point for you? Because I mean, everyone has that moment where they start watching the show and they like it, and we'll get into that right after. But what was the moment that you decided you wanted to write your first story?
Okay, so, I guess if you to kind of go to the real depths of it, years ago when I was a kid, I loved writing. I've always enjoyed reading. I read like the entire Redwall series growing up. Obviously, I read like Jurassic Park and stuff. We've already covered that. And I really liked writing too. I used to buy all kinds of books about like like the Complete Idiot's Guide to Writing and like different encyclopedias about like authors and stuff like that. Poetry, I was really into that. It just was always fun, like really fun to me, even though I never had really an avenue to share my writing with growing up, like out in the country with no internet or anything. I would just love, opening up Microsoft Word and writing stories. And I didn't even know it at the time, but I was writing like, I guess, my own variant of fan fiction, because I would like write little side stories to the different Redwall books I liked, like, like scenes that I wish were in the book that I would come up with. I'd write those out. So, when I got older and I finally had access to like the internet back when I was like 18 or whatever. Um, I started, realizing that there's like a lot of like communities for just regular people to write stuff and share it. And you have to keep in mind, if you grow up without the internet, stuff that we take for granted now, like social media sites and all this, were very new to me. Were really surprising. I didn't know stuff like that existed. So I remember my sister she's the one who originally got me into the show, because she was watching a season 2 episode at some point, the one where like Rainbow Dash gets really into the Daring Do novels, and then she told me about fan fiction and how there's like a fandom and stuff associated with it. And then she kind of just compared it to like, Star Trek fans, because obviously I've seen the memes and stuff like throughout my life. I know what Trekkies are, and she said it was kind of like that, but for this show. And she showed me a story that called "It Takes a Village," which is like an older fanfic, but it's about Spike like growing up and having to, you know, his life changing as he becomes like a full like grown dragon, and his misadventures and stuff, and learning how to be an adult and grow up and stuff. And it was really really great. And I was like, wow, I think I've got good ideas. I want to share them. uh so at the time, I was starting to really like both like and dislike Spike as a character, because I didn't like him in the show, because I felt they were just wasting his potential using him as a comic relief gag. I thought there was so much cool stuff to do with dragons, especially after I watched that season 2 episode where they go to the Dragonlands and all that. Um, but I was like, but having read It Takes a Village, it showed me like how much you could do with his character. The fact that he doesn't have parents, the fact that he's going to grow up as like being the only dragon surrounded by ponies and all this other stuff. So I was like, I want to write that. And I remember it hit me, my very first story that I published. It's not on my account anymore. It's unpublished because it's really bad. At least the writing in it is not great. Um, but I was listening to a song. I was listening to "Travelin' Soldier" by the Dixie Chicks. If any of you guys have heard of that, it's a great song, but it's really really sad. It's about a soldier who is leaving for war. He lost his family and everything, so he starts writing letters to a girl that he met at a diner, that because he just wanted somebody to write to, and she ends up falling in love with him through the letters that she receives from him, and then finds out that he gets killed during the war. And that's the whole crux. And I was like, wow, what if I want to write something like that, like, except this time maybe it's like Spike trying to find himself by like joining into like some kind of like military arrangement or something, and then seeing as how Rarity's like his best friend in the show, maybe like maybe she's the one like he'll write letters to her, but let's make it more like crazy and this, that, the other. It was a little too broad for me to try and write as my first story when I really didn't know what I was doing. But that's kind of what made me want to do it, was I felt like I had something to say. And really at the time, there weren't any people writing like more serious or focused Spike like romance stories. Like, you had your porn, sure, but Malajong was already banned at this time, so he wasn't doing it anymore. So I was like, I thought it was kind of like an untapped market, because the business side of me always likes to see opportunities like that. But B, I felt like I had stories that I could write and ideas that nobody else would have. So that's kind of what got me to get started, is I wanted to write like a really kind of big epic Sparity story that wasn't porn, that wasn't just like a goofy one shot. I really wanted to write something special. It didn't quite work out, but I eventually got to a point where I could start writing stuff like that.
Okay. I do have a question there. When it comes to writing, how much of it do you treat as business, and how much do you treat of it do you treat as I just want to have fun with this?
That is a great question. So, because I went through a little phase where I pretty much had to treat writing 100% as business. After I got laid off during COVID, I was searching for ways to kind of make money while the job market was just stale. So I created like a porn alt account and wrote some stories. I made good money off of it,
I
but
remember that.
but I was selling my soul. Like there was one guy who commissioned me who who made me rewrite the story because he said it was too stupid.
Is
Because I
that
wrote
the ball stumping one?
no, it was the story I wrote where like so he wanted me to write the story where like Starlight gets like super giant and has sex with Spike, who's like normal sized. So I wrote this scene with like Spike running back and forth between like her vagina, tits, and mouth, like Plankton when he's playing the harmonica in that Band Geeks episode of SpongeBob. The dude told me it was stupid as fuck, so he made me rewrite it. But I started hating writing because I wasn't writing stuff that I cared about. I wasn't writing anything that interested me. Um, and it just kind of distanced myself from it. There is so whenever I write stuff that I want to, like chapter updates or whatever, it is stuff that I actively really enjoy, and it's stuff that I pretty much treat it almost directly as just having fun. But that's not to say there's not business, within it, because I did like study business in college. I've always been in like the business world. So I kind of know how to quote unquote like play the game and get people to like my stuff, because half the fun of writing is getting to share that with people and then people liking it. I have a lot of fun reading comments. I have a lot of fun when people like my stuff and we get to talk about it and generates conversation. Uh, so I would say it's about 75% fun, but when it comes down to like editing and changing little things here and there and coming up with scenes that I know are just gonna wow the audience, and that stuff's more like business, because I also, I plan like when I'm gonna release something, I make sure to market it properly. Like back in the day, in like 2014, when I first started writing and I was really just trying to get off the ground, I was trying like everything to get my stories in front of people. Like I don't care like what I had to do, I'd put it in all the groups. I'd go to Twitter and I would find like bands that were like on the come up, and I'd ask them to promote it for me in exchange for me putting like music videos from them like on my user page, and so on and so forth. I just did anything I could to just try and get my name out there. And it worked. Like, eventually it paid off. It just took a while. Uh, so I would say it's like 25% business and 75% fun. And they're definitely interlinked because the business side can be really fun too.
Nice. How often do you just forego the business aspects and just write for the hell of it? So you don't even care if the story's gonna perform well. You just want to throw shit out there and have fun with it.
That's what I do with my stories on my alt accounts. I've got a couple that I'm, not going to go into super into depth with here, but like pretty much when I write like goofball stuff on my alt accounts, that's just me wanting to shit post and put stuff out there. You don't write a story like vaginal mustard,
It's all right.
like you don't do that to try and like
we're gonna
impact
talk about that.
society.
We're gonna talk about that one later. I have a quick question. It's time to finally spill the beans, Famous. It's time to finally lay it all out. Show your hand, all right?
Okay.
Tell us about Spike and Trixie go to the drive-thru.
Fucking hell! That was my next question. I was going to here.
Okay, well then we're perfect co-hosts then, aren't we?
Hey, hang on. Okay, pretend you're gonna ask that question. I was gonna ask it, but I was gonna phrase it a different way.
Okay, go ahead.
So Famous. Okay. When are you going to help Jack write the sequel to Trixie and Spike Go Through the Drive-Thru?
Well, here's the deal. I don't know how I can say this without like getting myself in trouble.
You're not going to be in trouble because technically it would count as a collab. It doesn't matter.
Okay. The whole shindig at the time was I wrote that story with my friend Jack, because he left himself logged in on my laptop after we got back from a con. And I remember at the time he was trying really hard to, write and kind of increase his following and stuff, and he hadn't quite gotten there yet. So when I see that he left himself logged in, I was like, oh yeah, this is a perfect opportunity to shitpost. So I, worked with him to write a story about Spike and Trixie going through the drive-thru. That's it. It's like 1,000 words. It's nothing. It's nonsense. But it turned into like his first like featured story. It became his like first story to break like 100 likes and all this other stuff. And it took him a while to accept it and you know uh, agree that it was a good idea to work with me on that. It was just a lot of fun, and I didn't realize, I guess, the
All right.
impact it would have
So,
on him at the
Dustin.
time. But
So the other day, the reason I wanted to ask that as well is the other day, a new friend I've made on the website, Tape Deck, read one of Jack's stories. And I only found that out because Jack DM'd me and he goes, God fucking damn it, look at this stupid ass comment. And he just linked a comment from Trixie and Spike go to the drive-thru, and it's like, this is a really funny story. Good job, Jack. Your writing was great on this one. And Jack was so mad about it.
that story is also, I believe, his only one with an audio reading on YouTube.
It is. It's a funny story. Like you wrote a good story there. You did.
Yeah, we really did write a good story.
Yeah,
with that
we
one.
quotation. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely fun though.
Okay. What else you guys got?
Oh, Muggin, is it fine if I ask one kind of related to what I had asked earlier?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we talked about what made you want to write a episode. What got you into the fandom? Like, obviously, you said your sister showed you the show, but at what point did you really find yourself engrossed in the fandom side of things?
It was probably after making a few friends on the site, because anybody who's watching that's like newer to FemFic, like just the last couple of years, probably doesn't know this, but the site used to actually be like a really big like social media hub. It wasn't just fan fiction. Blogs were a lot bigger, and groups were like massive back then, posting different threads and stuff. Nowadays, most groups have kind of moved on to like Discord and stuff, so everything's a little bit more separated. But back then, uh, there was always drama and crap going on between the groups. There were people that were always trolling, like the anti-depression ponies group. You had the writers group always asking questions that didn't need to be answered. You had, the different like shipping groups that were always at war with each other. I personally witnessed like actual crazy drama and shit going on between like the Sparity group and the Spike Bell group. They were always at each other's throats. It was just great. Like there was so much like
I mean, remember the
communication.
anti-Starlight groups? Like when season 5 finale aired, like
I
so many
do.
people were mad about that and made a bunch of different groups about how terrible she was.
Well,
Goddamn.
well, what ended up happening was, I ended up meeting people. I met my roommate first. He was my roommate. His name is Brad. I met him on the site just through a random post on, I think it was the writers group, where somebody just asked like, "Hey, post where you're from. Let's see like, where everybody's at." And at the time, I lived in Bentonville, Arkansas, and I saw that somebody else in the thread had posted they live in Pea Ridge. So I reached out to him in private messages, and I was like, "Hey, I promise I'm not like an axe murderer or anything. Do you want to like meet up at the McDonald's over here? Yada yada yada." We ended up meeting up, and then we ended up getting an apartment together, and we lived together for 5 years.
That's the
That
opposite. The first person I ever met from the website, he did live here in Jacksonville, and we went to a Cold Stone together. That was 12 years ago, and I haven't seen him since.
yeah,
Like,
well,
that's been a while.
Well, we both had like troubled pasts, so we both wanted to just kind of get a fresh start. And we lived together for years until life took us kind of in different directions. But I also, made a lot of friends. I met my friend Jake back in 2014. We've been close ever since. I met like Flutter Priest at a con, and we became friends. I met Andrew or Seven through the Rage Review group. back when that was a thing on the Skype days.
Oh yeah,
And
we
really,
did. What was the first? Oh, it was. You told me you were a fan of the Offspring, and
and you asked
I
me what my
challenged
favorite
you. I
song
was like,
was.
"What was your favorite song?" Because I expected you, because it was a, because you were a brony. I expected you to say you're gonna go Far Kid because of the fucking stupid Rainbow Dash Nightcore edit.
Yeah, I remember that. But no, I told you my favorite Offspring song was "Spare Me the Details," which is kind of like a deeper cut on
Yeah,
one of
and
their.
I heard you say that, and I was like, I don't even know what that song is. This dude's for real.
Yeah, you were like when that feel when it's not you're gonna go far, kid, or self esteem. Good job. And then we started chatting about like music and stuff. That's how we kind of became friends. And it was really just meeting people. I've always been like really social with people. I like to talk, obviously. um, and just meeting people really kind of sucked me into the fandom. And then I would also say, and this might sound kind of weird, but hear me out. I would also say something else that helped me get kind of ingrained into the fandom was when I started finding success with writing. I thought it was just a lot of fun. I liked being able to like post a blog with some like controversial opinion or bullshit just to see how people would react. I liked being able to like put on a persona when I was at a con or like hosting a panel of being the kind of like, you know, Fred Durstish, douchebag who people love to hate. I wanted to be that person so bad, where people read my stories, and even though they liked them, they didn't like me or whatever, and it would just create conversation. I thought that was so much fun. That really kind of helped draw me in as well. I think that film fiction itself is the way it's built is fantastic for creating a reason for people to contribute, right? Like I think humans naturally have like a competitive edge to them. We like to be good at things. We like to see numbers go up. We like to, be competitive with each other. So the idea of adding like followers, of adding, likes and dislikes and a view counter and all this stuff really kind of helped egg people on into wanting to write something that would get really popular, write something that would be more popular than something else, or somebody else. And once I started experiencing that, like when I wrote my very first like kind of big stories, Heart Invasion 101 back in back like over 10 years ago, when that story like went to the top of the box and got like 500 something likes in like 2 days, like that was awesome. So that just mixed with meeting people and was awesome. That's what really drew me in and kind of cemented my place. I love the show too. Don't get me wrong. I especially love it like the further it went on and got more complex with how the characters and stuff, and they added characters that I really related to. But just really the people that I got to grow close to and the fans that I built up over the years of writing is what really drew me in.
Right. Awesome, awesome.
Nice.
Um, so you know, speaking of the old website, you weren't around at the time, but you mentioned like adding likes, adding favorites, blogs, all that. Did you know? And I think you know because of the iceberg I made, which I will be sharing it at some point. Not maybe not on this podcast, but at some point I will. But they used to have a star rating system like old school YouTube instead of likes and updates, or likes
Oh
and
yeah.
or like likes and dislikes.
And I think they had the
Also,
star rating up until like 2012.
yeah, very early 2012. Also, we have a question from the chat from Izzy Boy Inc. What about the fandom keeps you around to this day?
To this day, hmm, I don't know. It's hard. Like I'm not really like the kind of person who's ever gonna make some like dramatic like exit from something. Like if I like something, I'm gonna like it, even if I go through phases where I get interested in something else for a bit, like or whatever. I'll go sometimes like a year or two without watching Jurassic Park, but I still love it, and I'm still always down to be a part of it. It's like that with MLP. I really like the show. I still go back and watch my favorite episodes from time to time. I like writing. I like reading. I
And
haven't
just the
written
other
in
day,
like
you
a
bitched at me to
little
watch
bit.
that Starlight and Trixie road trip episode, which I hadn't seen, and it was really good. So you were right for making me watch that. I need to watch more of season 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, they have some great episodes in there. But yeah, really, it's like the mafia. I could try to leave, I just get pulled back in by some nonsense every once in a while. I would say though, it's like honestly just like the friends I've made, like nostalgia just really keeps me around. The fact that people still like what I stuff that I wrote like 5, 10 years ago still makes me happy because like I'll log into FimFic and see like 5 or 6 notifications from like the last day or two, and even though I haven't, it'll be from like a story I wrote in like 2013, and I'm just like, wow, it's awesome that people are still finding this stuff, they still like it. Uh, so just kind of that old community feeling that I've held on to for years. That's never really gone away. I also still love going to cons. I haven't been able to since BronyCon 2019 because of COVID and everything. But that's hopefully going to change within like the next year or so.
Maybe
But yeah,
September.
just that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we're gonna try to go to either Mare Fair, Orlando, or BabsCon in April
Yeah,
next year. So
and
whatever
fun
works
story.
better.
And fun story, I have hosted a panel at every con that I've been to, and they're always a lot of fun. So if you ever go to a con that I'm going to, come to my panel. I usually host panels about shipping and other really goofy stuff. So just a little advertisement there.
Yeah, if you've ever been to a convention and saw a panel named like Cuddle Chemistry or The Right Way, oh, what was it? The Right Way to Be Awesome.
Yeah,
Those were
that's
Dustin
what
and
I think.
and Dustin was the brainchild behind all of them.
Yep, I would always apply for panels and then I noticed the very first one, Midwest Brony Fest 2015. That was the one where I really had to sell my idea because I didn't have any history. But then after that, they approved me to do a panel the next year, and then I was able to use like the videotapes and stuff people made of my panels to like advertise to BronyCon to have them invite me out there for a panel and so on and so forth. So
It was
yeah,
so
it's
cool
always a
having
lot
a
of fun.
panelist badge at the final BronyCon. Like,
You
I don't
remember when
know.
we got to skip the line that was like a mile long?
Yeah, fucking. Oh man, it was so funny because Moon came down for that, and like she goes over to the huge line. We're just like, see you later, idiot. We just walked right up and got our badges.
We just walked right up to the desk. We're
Dude,
like,
dude,
yeah,
if
we're
you
panelists.
recall, I don't know if you remember, it wasn't Missy, but apparently someone in the main line actually, one of our friends told us a story that someone in the main line actually peed themselves. So, and then like another person threw up. So it was just like awful. So thank God we didn't have to go into that line.
Yeah, they
Oh,
were. I'm gonna be $150 for half the convention center being rented out. They were way over capacity at
I
BronyCon 2019.
And they had rented out the
I
full convention center the year before for half
yeah.
the crowd.
Yeah, it
Dude,
was.
yeah, they're probably breaking fire codes.
No, they definitely were. If like I'm just saying, like if a tornado came or like a wildfire happened inside that con, like nobody was getting out in a
Yeah.
orderly
Yes, a
fashion.
wildfire in
I
downtown Baltimore.
I was in that line. Jack of a few trays. He had to stand in that line. That after I stood in that first line just to get my badge, I avoided the what was it? The autograph hall? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, the autograph hall.
Yeah. I avoided that altogether. I did not care
I
about
did
being
not
able to
because
show.
I wanted to get Rebecca Shoyket's. I don't.
Yeah.
I think that's how you pronounce her name. I said it last episode too, but I wanted her autograph for my ex-wife. Big mistake. Should have got one for myself. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
the
would
line
love.
was crazy. I mean, her line I thought was long, and then I looked at Lauren Faust's line, and I was like, "Holy shit,
Oh
dude!"
yeah.
There was like,
Bro,
out of the 10,000 people, it felt like at least 1.5 thousand were in that line.
her
like
line looked more like a mosh pit than like an actual line. It was just like a wave of people trying to get in.
Oh my god!
Aside
Imagine
from
what
our
the
own
day was like.
panel, go ahead. Sorry.
So imagine what the day was like for her. Imagine the
Oh,
headache she
dude.
had to deal with.
Dude, aside from our own panel, I didn't even go to any because we couldn't get into any. We'd always get locked out because too many people were there. Like, you remember, almost
Yeah.
everyone from the Barcast couldn't even see our panel, Dustin. They got locked out.
Yeah, that's why I remember for Miranda and Missy, I had to tell the con staff that they were like my plants, so that way they could get in before the actual
Yeah, because
like, lines.
Missy ended up she was on the panel, if you recall. Who was it? It was me, you, her, and it wasn't
No,
Jack.
no,
Jack
no.
wasn't
It
there
was
that year, was he?
Missy wasn't on the panel. That was when she sat with Miranda, and they put
Oh,
me
Missy was
together.
on the panel for the online one we did,
Yeah, it
and
was
she
me, you,
immediately
Jake,
said a
and
curse
Jack.
word.
Yep, that's how it goes.
Okay.
I've never been through a full panel without somebody dropping an F-bomb at my PG rated panel.
Okay, I do have a question about that panel. You might not remember it, but I'm gonna try you anyways. Okay. During the joke with Applejack's parents, where you guys pretend the projector wasn't working, one of the con staff came up to you and said something. Do you remember what they said?
Yeah, they were like, "What's going on, guys? Tech issue?" I'm like, "No, it's a joke. Go back." And he's like, "Oh,
No.
okay." That's all it was.
Do you want to explain what that joke was? Because I thought it was great the way you guys set it up.
Oh, I can't remember what it was. We were talking about
I
different
do.
character dynamics and stuff, and then we just flip flopped to a picture of like Applejack at her parents' grave, and we were just like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah." It was stupid, but
What
I'll tell
was
you
the
what.
joke, Muggany? Hold on, Muggany. What was the joke? It's been a minute since you remember.
It was what he said. Okay, so they're going through the slides. They're talking about like they're talking about relationships, and suddenly the projector just stops working. They're trying to figure out what the tech issue is. It goes on for at least a minute. This is when the concept comes up and asks what's going on, and they finally get it working. And the very next image on display is a picture of Applejack and Applebloom looking down at their parents' grave.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody in the
That
crowd
is what it was.
moved, I remember.
It came back to that picture just for the shock value of it.
Yeah, it was.
It
It
was
was
a
stupid.
it was an all right it was an all right joke with a great setup. I love it.
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm gonna like just to clue everybody in, I only plan out like half of the panels that I do. Like I plan out for about 30 minutes of content, and then I just let random bullshit fill up the other 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, I remember we were on your laptop for that one, and we were at like a McDonald's or something, and I was like, "All right, Dustin, what are we doing for this panel?" And we got like 5 of the slides done, and he goes, "All right, that's enough. We'll just make up the rest."
Yeah, it's been like that every single panel. I've always waited until like either the night before or the morning of to actually do anything with the slideshow. And Jake's gotten used to it because he's done a lot of panels with me. And I remember throughout that, it was during BronyCon 2019. Throughout the process, he was just like, I kept telling him like, "Hey, do you think we should actually work on the panel?" He's like, "Nah, we'll just do it. We'll just do it 5 minutes before, like we always do." And then I just trust my ability to work the crowd to like fill stuff up for the next 30 minutes. Sometimes it works,
mean-
sometimes it's awkward, but
Hey, that's
it's a lot
how.
of fun.
I mean,
Ask a
hey, that's how.
question. I had someone redeem a Ruth cam, so I have to go get her real quick.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's how Saturday Night Live does it. They work on they work on their material the day before it's time to shoot.
Well, yeah, that's how you
They
get like a lot
also
of
suck
spontaneity.
now. They're terrible. Now.
They've always sucked. They've always sucked. They're just they look better in context than
they have like
90s.
10 good jokes a decade.
Okay, so as somebody who's like really into comedy and like really like went deep in it goes deep into SNL lore sometimes. Here's what I think. 90s comedy hits different because of the production value. Lower production values have way more charms than comedies with a higher production value. If you go to modern SNL today, everything is in HD. It is fully lit. But the costumes they look like shit. Meanwhile, if you go back to the 90s, the costumes still look shit, but it's because of the cameras. It's something about the camera's film grain. It's something about the way the scene is lit. It just adds so much charm to the scene. That's why a lot of people. That's why I think 90s SNL is great. But yeah. Sorry. I get really into comedy when we talk about it. I like that stuff.
Well, I don't like it, and this is my moment, so
Yeah, I mean
let me have
this is
attention.
my podcast and it is about talking.
Um, real quick, Andrew, are you there? Are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to redeem the Ruth cam. She's on camera now.
So do you remember? I want to tell this story. It's my favorite con. It's probably my favorite con memory. I've got a lot of good ones. But one of my favorites was actually at a really small con we went to called Candlelight KC.
I love that
And-
one. 2017. Yep.
Yeah, and that was the con where I began like a 2-day like turf war with a fandom YouTuber called I Love Kim Possible a lot.
I love
And-
KP
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot. Yep.
Oh, they're going through drama right now.
Oh
It
yeah.
doesn't surprise me. And knowing what like I feel like I feel like I got to know her at a level that most people don't during that con, and it all started with I didn't know who she was or what she looked like, but all I knew is that she was on the list of people that were going to be there. And me and Andrew were walking around the like the art hall or whatever, where people had like their plushies and all this other stuff. And I remember I walk
know.
up to
I know this
I walk
exact moment. This is your cringiest moment of all time.
yeah, I made it work though. We walked up to like this raffle table, right? There was like there was me and Andrew. We were looking at like essentially they had some plushie. It was like the OC of I Love Kim Possible a lot. It was like a plushie version of her OC. And there was like a charity raffle, and I was looking at the paper where people would write down their bids, and it was up to like $500. And I remember there was like nobody at the table. There was just like some con staffer over here, and then Andrew over here, and I was like, okay. I look around, I'm like, honestly, Andrew, who the fuck was gonna spend $500 to get this plushie of like of like somebody that nobody even cares about?
It wasn't a plushie. It was hand painted art, and admittedly, it wasn't that good.
Yeah, but whatever. And I was like that, and then the con staffer turns around, and it wasn't a staffer. It was fucking I Love Kim Possible while she was standing right next to me, and she was like, yeah, that's my artwork. I'm sorry you don't like it, but a lot of people do." And I was like, "Oh." And
It's all right. It's all right. She's going through drama now. You were justified.
Well, that's how it started, but I think I can't remember what I did, but I ended up saving myself by telling her that I was like going to go to her panel later, and I would be more obnoxious there or something. And we made eye contact, and I gave her the here comes trouble type look. So she had a panel that night or the next night where essentially it was like a pajama party where we all just watched the Kim Possible movie together. And this is the best part of like any con I've ever been to. So, I walk in and I literally hear her like audibly sigh whenever I walk into the room with Andrew. And, we're just chilling in the back. I got my feet up on the table and everything watching the movie and listening to her commentary because I do love Kim Possible. And at the end of it, she poses a challenge to the crowd. She has this like autographed piece of artwork of Kim Possible that she drew, and it was actually pretty good. And she said that if anybody could ask her a piece of Kim Possible trivia that she did not know the answer to, they would win that artwork. And so people started asking like, "Oh, what costumes were her parents wearing in the Halloween episode?" Or what episode did this happen in, that happen in? And she's answering all of them. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, okay, what's something that she wouldn't know? I was like, I know just enough about Kim Possible. I bet I know something she doesn't. And then it hit me. I had it. I knew I had it. So I remember I just leaned back in my chair and I was like, okay, I got this. Whenever y'all are done asking your stupid questions, I'll go. And then she just like shakes her head and starts answering, the answers from the other questions or whatever. And then eventually, I'm like, are y'all losers done? Can I ask now? And she was like, okay, you lubed me up. Let's go. Come on. And I was like, okay, so in season 4, episode 1, the one where Ron steals her power suit to play football? She's like, yes, I know the episode. I'm like, how many yards did he run for his very first touchdown? See, I knew because he took the very first play from scrimmage 80 yards for a touchdown. But I knew that she would not know that. And guess what? As soon as I asked that, she fucking dropped her head onto the table and then just held up the picture and she was like, fine, you win. So I go up there and I make her take a picture with me holding the artwork and I still have it.
Yeah. And he knew it was 80 yards because in American football, at least back then, when that episode aired, if the kickoff went out of bounds in the end zone or was kneeled down in the end zone by the receiving team, they got the ball at their own 20 and they had 80 yards to go for a touchdown.
You
Yep.
made a famous person hate you. How does it feel?
I think like this is probably just wishful thinking, but I think to a point she was fascinated with me because I was like where everybody else was like sucking her dick. I was like the only person brave enough to obnoxiously challenge her on like a momentary basis.
So, Dustin,
Yes.
what was it like when you saw the reception to the... I'm not going to spoil how it ended for anyone who is here right now or ends up reading the story. But what was it like when you saw the reception to the final chapter of Blonde Moments?
It was both amazing and depressing at the same time. Because it was amazing because it was my first time finishing like a story that massive, right? Over 100,000 words. I'd never done that before. And it was a story that I was really passionate about. So getting to share that with people, getting to finally finish it was awesome. Uh, I was doing a lot of things in life that I was really into at the time. But so even though almost everybody really liked it and it got the kind of reactions that I wanted out of it, there were still some people who absolutely detested it. Like I remember for a while, I would randomly like do a blog search and just type my name in to see like the latest hate blog about somebody bitching about my story and how it ended and how depressing it was and yada yada yada. And so there were some good things, but also I got pretty tired of the private messages of people telling me to like kill myself all the time. That wasn't pleasant. People that absolutely detested how it ended wanted me to shoot myself. So I guess it was, I guess that's just kind of what you expect. No matter what you do in this world, not everybody's gonna love it, right? There are some people who are gonna really like it. There are some people that are gonna hate it, and that's pretty much what it was.
What is it Critical said? You could make the most delicious milkshake of all time, and there's still going to be some asshole that doesn't like it.
Yeah, and then complains about it on Twitter.
Yeah. So, Magani, what do you have next for us?
My mind is blank. I have crazy brain fog today.
No
That
worries.
sounds like a
I
you
got this.
problem.
So, Dustin, I have another good question for you.
Okay.
So recently in a personal server of mine, I held a vote for everyone's favorite. Actually, okay, I should reiterate. It's not a personal server. It's literally advertised on my FimFic. If you go to Lucky Seven, you'll see it. You can join, chat with all three of us. It'll be fun.
I'm already in there.
I'm talking to the audience.
Oh, sorry.
Anyways, I've posted a list of the 3 most popular Spike shipping pairings, which are Sparity, Spylight, and Star Spike. And I basically said, "What's your least favorite?" You said Sparity. Why is Sparity your least favorite of those 3?
Out of those three, it's my least favorite just because it's the one I've seen done the most. It's also the one that I've seen done like at a mid level the most. There are some great Sparity stories, but a lot of it is just really kind of throwaway nonsense. Whereas Star Spike, I love their dynamic in the show.
I mean, we
I
did a collab
love,
with them. It's adorable.
oh yeah, I absolutely love it. Whether you want to write them as friends, romantic partners, like awkward relationship people, it's always fucking great. Um, but Sparity, I feel like it's my least favorite to write. Like at least from a romance perspective, I really like writing like Spike and Rarity as like super close friends, like where he like comes to her and asks for advice like on how to talk to the girl he likes and stuff. Like I like to write this thing where Spike's like like 19 and Rarity's a little bit older and he still helps her with stuff, but he'll talk to her about like how he feels about stuff and some of the personal drama and demons he's dealing with, and she gives him advice, like that kind of dynamic. I love that. And I just over time came to absolutely love them as friends as opposed to romantic interest partners. So that's just kind of how that came to be. So romance, it's my least favorite of the three, but it doesn't mean I don't like writing them together, just not in that way.
I remember before we were friends, when I was like 15, I was pretty cringe back then. I'm cringe now, but I'm self-aware about how cringe I am. 15, I wasn't. Um, I remember you made some kind of blog about Spike, and you did reply to that comments like 5 years later for some reason. Uh, my comment was basically saying I do not like it when people ship Spike with Rarity because he's a child, and then you responded with, actually, by season 2 he had entered his preteen years, as if that made it better.
I know.
I think back to that. I don't know if you were joking yet, because at the time I thought you were serious because I was only a 15-year-old.
Yeah, no, I was only being half serious. So
You
Okay.
know,
here's the
real,
deal.
real quick,
There's
sorry, hold on. I just want to defend Sparity shippers for a sec. And Spotlight shippers, by extension. And Star Spike. You know what? Spike with anyone. I'm going to defend this. Twilight was a filly when Spike was hatched, and she constantly fears that she's going to go back to magic kindergarten. Now, when you go to kindergarten, you're only like 4 or 5, which means she was really only 4 or 5 when Spike was born. And if we're to believe that the ponies were in their mid-20s, then he's at least like 18 or 19 years old by the time the show starts.
Oh yeah, I have a whole ass blog
So
on
he is
on my account
literally, it is
talking about
not a child and an adult. If she mentions kindergarten, she was very young. She was younger than the Cutie Mark Crusaders were in that
That
flashback.
that just makes it more confusing because he hits puberty in the later seasons.
Well, so
I mean,
there
dude,
I have
it's
a
not
whole
puberty. I mean, he just got wings.
It's a metaphor for puberty.
I don't know about all that now.
well, I have a whole blog on my account talking about my theories on how I know that Spike is a teenager in the show and how I kind of write about him growing up. So, and one of the points I brought up is yes, Spike was hatched as like a test during Magic Kindergarten, and so that means Twilight was like at most 5 years old whenever Spike hatched. I also like if you want to get really old school, uh, in a really early like little collector's box that I bought back in like 2013, they have like little like factoid trading cards, and one of them I had was a little card featuring like the artwork from the episode where Spike gets the whole greed growth thing, and the description on it from Hasbro or whoever literally says that Spike's teenage hormones caused caused the greed growth, and I was like, so I guess he's a teenager by season 2 at least.
Okay.
And then I always write my stories like 5-6 years after like the perceived end of like the main canon. So whenever I write my stories, I always picture him in like the 18 to 22-year-old range, and I love writing him at that age because I remember being that old and I remember how crazy scary life was, because that's the moment where you know you're still like a kid at heart and you still want to do things that like a kid does,
Mm-hmm.
but society expects you to be an adult all of a sudden, and it's a lot harder than you think to figure out who you are and who you're going to be and what you really like offer to society. I love writing that dynamic with Spike because I know it's like extra challenging with him being a dragon amongst ponies, like trying to figure out what his purpose is.
Empty plot filler in the chat also brings up a good point that like people, and when I say people, I mean Redditors because they're not people, they're subhuman, anyways, uh, have a tendency to conflate human biology with fictional races and expect the standards of maturity to, to be the same by age, which is ridiculous. Um, there are idiots on Reddit who think that clop porn is, underage. They think that like Twilight and Rarity and them are children. And if you don't know what you're talking about, you shouldn't talk at all. It's, Dunning-Kruger syndrome or something like that, or Dunning-Kruger effect. Um, People with limited knowledge in a subject tend to think that they know more than they do. And that happens a lot when people shit on Spike shippers or just shit on people who watch this show in general who do shipping.
Yeah,
And it's a real shame because no, most
yeah.
of the characters are not children. Now I did have a question, Dustin. Have you ever
What's up?
written a Sparity ship?
Yes.
What was it called?
I've got one on my account called "Leave All the Lights On."
Okay,
It's
so
based
so
off
you're
of the "Day
you're
to Remember"
you're
song.
you're a big Spike fan, right? You're like the premier Spike writer on the website. Realistically, you've written like 50 stories with him, and they're all pretty popular. They go from semi-popular to like mega popular. So if you're so big into Spike, why did you not know the episode name "Secret of My Excess"? You fucking fake fan.
Because I don't watch that one that much. I used to like I still like it, and it used to be like one of my favorites. But as the show went on, and they got better and better, like episodes with Spike and character interactions, I realized that that episode really downplayed Spike as a character. Like overall, I thought it was sweet, like to an extent, but I would much rather now watch the episode where Spike starts dating Gabby and Rarity gets ultra jealous and tries to ruin their relationship. That is an episode in season 9, and it's amazing. And it's great character building because it flips the table of Rarity realizing how much she depends on and needs Spike in her life once he starts finding interest in somebody else.
You know what my two favorites by him are, or from him?
What?
Gauntlet of Fire, really good episode. That's season 6, I believe,
Yep.
and The Times They Are a Changeling, which is also season 6. He had some pretty good ones there.
You need to watch the one I just mentioned. It is an amazing episode. And it's a very rare perspective that
Which
you
one was it?
don't
Oh, the
see.
Gabby one. I've seen the Gabby one,
Where where
where
Spike and
Rarity gets
Gabby start
jealous
dating.
about the pen pal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely got very
And she tries
jealous
to
about
ruin
that.
their relationship by making Gabby think that Spike ditched her to hang out with Rarity instead. Like Rarity tried to set that up. I'm like, that's
Okay,
so awful.
okay. Legit question, famous. Legit question. What chores would you fuck?
Uh I answered this the other day. Give me Trixie or Starlight. I'll take either.
Not Fleur de Lis.
Nope, not Fleur de Lis. She's too foreign for me.
Uh, I thought that'd be your instant choice, but okay, I'll take it. Uh,
See, I love Trixie's like kind of undeserved narcissism and confidence in herself and just her general appearance and attitude. I absolutely love it. And I love Starlight's mixture of kind of snark. She has a bit of like a elder emo thing going on where she definitely listened to a lot of Census Fail growing up, I can just tell.
okay.
While also having a vulnerable side. Like, like you would have a great time. Like she would join you in the mosh pit at a concert, but then like cry with you while watching Grave of the Fireflies.
This is actually a funny dynamic because the last episode we had on Milk, who hates Starlight.
I love Starlight. He's one of my favorite characters. Andrew said it
Same.
once like 5 years ago, but I'm going to say it now. Starlight really rejuvenated my love for the show and really enhanced how I felt about it in the later seasons. She's a great
Um,
character.
sorry. Oh, okay, so I arrived at I think the end of season 4. So the season 5 opening was actually my first time experiencing new fandom content. So like she was technically my first introduction if you don't count the stuff I already seen before that during season 4.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I like her a
Uh,
lot. I just think she's great.
oh yeah, she's great. I love her. I have an entire fanfic about her. She's fucking awesome. Yeah. How do you feel about Sweetie Spike? Because that's actually a ship I support.
Which one?
Sweetie Spike, is that what it's called?
Spike Bell.
Spike Bell, yes.
So I liked it whenever I first joined the fandom. Like my very first featured story ever is actually a Spike Bell story. It's called "When Can We Do This Again?" And it was really simple. It was just Spike inviting Sweetie Belle over for game night with him and Twilight. Really innocent stuff. But as I like got more of an understanding of the different character dynamics and saw I developed my own headcanon of Spike's character. It didn't really make sense for him to be dating Sweetie Belle because he's like older than her, like, which isn't like the end of the world because I think they were originally designed to be relatively like the same age. But Spike was always hanging out with the adults and doing more like adult stuff, whereas Sweetie Belle was definitely more of a child. Uh, so it just made more sense for it. Just I eventually kind of lost my taste for it over time.
Right. Well, um, it's about that time, right? Right, Mugany?
Yes, it
It
is
is.
time for Lucky Sevens. Was Unlucky 13?
Yeah, Lucky Sevens, Unlucky 13. But
Oh boy.
since I've been asking a lot of the questions this time, taking the reins here, we're going to let Mugany here ask you 13 questions, which I have written up. These are shotgun questions for you to answer. You don't have to be super quick with them. Just try to get them all answered within about 2 minutes, I would say.
Okay.
Number 1. What year did you get into MLP? Did you get into the fandom at the same time?
Late 2012.
And did you get into the fandom at the same time?
No, I got into the fandom about 6 months later.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2. What was the first episode you can recall watching that left you amazed by the time it was done?
The first episode that left me amazed was Winter Wrap Up. That song blew my mind because I remember watching through the first like 9 episodes. I thought this was good and fun, but it didn't quite hit me yet at what how special it could be until I heard Winter Wrap Up.
Yeah, a lot of people say that they probably could have left before that episode and just washed their hands, left, not cared. But then by the time that episode aired, it was like, damn, I got to keep going now.
Yeah.
Right. Number 3. Do you have a favorite main character, side character, or background pony? Maybe a villain?
I guess my favorite main character would be Starlight. My favorite side character would be Trixie. My favorite background pony would be Cloud Chaser or Flitter. Take your pick. My favorite villain, honestly, probably. Well, I guess he doesn't stay a villain, but I like Discord. But if I have to pick like a villain, like one that's just straight evil, I would probably pick Cozy Glow. I think she's an awesome villain.
I mean,
Yeah, a lot of
well,
people
who was your favorite when they were a villain?
My favorite villain, like while they were doing villainous things.
Yes, yeah.
I liked the anti-communism message of Starlight.
Starlight was a great villain. It's a very good villain.
Yes. All right. Number 4. Have you made any lifelong friends through the fandom?
Yes, I've made
I
a
don't
lot.
believe you.
Now name some of them.
I see Jake, Andrew, Jack. Honestly, I guess how long have we been friends, Muggin? It hasn't been like lifelong yet, but it's been like 8 years. That's pretty long.
We know each other long enough.
Long enough. Kirify, I've been friends with him for a long ass time. Tidal, I still talk to him. Yeah, I've made a lot of friends through this fandom. I would argue that actually my life has been very deeply shaped by this fandom and the people I've met through it. Like I'm in a place in my life where I would have never been otherwise.
That's awesome. I'm right
All
there
right.
with you, honestly.
Number 5. Have you been to any conventions in person or online? Which one would you say was your greatest experience?
I've been to a lot of conventions. Midwest Brony Fest 2015, 2016, Canterlot KC, Crystal Fair 2015, 2016, BronyCon 2018, BronyCon 2019, Ponyville Cider Fest Online 2020, and then I also I got invited to DerpyCon over in like Philadelphia back in like 2017. They wanted to bring me out as a panelist, but I ended up not going because I was going through a lot of drama that year.
So which one was the most memorable?
Most memorable is going to be I hate to do this to you, Andrew, because you weren't there.
2018, right?
BronyCon 2018.
I can't be mad because that's like the perfect BronyCon from what I've heard.
Yeah, it was like 5,500 people, so it wasn't overpacked, but there was a lot of people. We had the full convention center. Every panel was full, but no like extremely long lines.
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet and make friends with people that I never thought I would, like Penstroke and others. And then yeah, it was just a great time. I remember I have a lot of great memories from it. So as far as like the actual con part of things, that was probably my favorite. I hosted an awesome panel there with Categorical Grant. Had like a lot of people show up that loved it. So yeah, that one's probably the most memorable. But I would say the most important one is probably like Canterlot KC is really important. And then Midwest Brony Fest 2016 is extremely important to me as well.
That was the first time me, you, and Jack were all in the same place at the same time.
Yep, me, you, Jack, and Jake.
Yeah, and well, that was Canterlot KC. Midwest Brony Fest was me, you, Jack, and Flutter Priest, which was, man, that was a fun foursome right there. That was
Yeah.
and we all held a panel together too. That was the right way to be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Nice. All right, number 6. What's your favorite fanfic?
My favorite fanfic, like to read, like my favorite one
Yeah,
to read.
to read, yeah.
Okay, so my favorite is not necessarily the one that I think is of the highest quality, because there are really like two fanfics that I go back and read from time to time, like maybe like once a year, just because they mean something to me, like they're special. That would be a story called the one's forgotten. I forget who it's by. Um, it's a love triangle romance story about Spike. Like Rarity finally agrees to go out with Spike, and he asks Twilight if she can use her bookish knowledge to teach him how to be more romantic. And he ends up falling in love with Twilight through the process, and vice versa. But he's in a relationship with Rarity, and it becomes this whole complex thing. Uh, Looking back, it holds up decently well, but it's a really good story, even if the execution isn't always there. And then another one would be a really fucked up story, but it's a good one. It's called Broken Hearts and Diamonds by the Camel, and it's a story about Spike starts dating Flitter, and it's kind of like the episode I was talking about earlier with Rarity and Gabby is very similar to the idea that the Camel came up with, where Spike starts dating Flitter, and it drives Rarity crazy, because she doesn't have him anymore, and she realizes how much he meant to her. But then she does way more horrible stuff to Flitter and Spike in that story than she does obviously in the actual episode. That story is a little bit goofier and a little bit raunchier, but it's still a fun read. Those two stories mean a lot to me. Just because I read them really early on, they definitely helped shape my writing of Spike, and yeah, so probably those two.
That's a really good
Okay.
answer. And you've convinced me to try both of them, actually. So please
Nice.
send me links to those.
All
You
right.
got it.
This also goes into number 6. Do you have a favorite fan song?
Yeah, Breaking Bonds 2020 by Prince Whatever. I actually got on a YouTube like a reaction video channel with a pretty popular channel. They had like 80,000 subscribers or whatever, and I got them to react to that song with me as a guest, and they both fucking loved it. And I remember one of them was like, "I cannot believe that this kind of music is coming out of what you call it, the brony scene. I had no idea this was a thing." Because I was trying to explain to them that like metalcore and stuff is really big in like anime and cartoons and stuff, that kind of scene, and they were blown away by how well produced and written the song was. So that was a lot of fun.
That's funny. Empty Plot Filler says they think they saw that. Mahogany, real quick, what's your favorite fandom song?
So I was never really into the fandom music. So I did see some things, but my answer is gonna be generic
Okay,
because
say it.
I don't have that good of a introduction. Okay, so well, I'm trying to think at the top of my head all the ones I've listened to besides A Living Tombstone's Discord. I Am Octavia. I don't think that's a good example.
All
Oh, I
right.
will say a
My
runner-up is
favorite's my favorite's Awoken by Wooden Toaster. Anything by Wooden Toaster would be in my favorites.
I will
Yeah.
say, "Princess of the Sun" by Evening Star
Oh my god, you
is
got me
also
hooked
a
on that.
fucking banger.
I
I
have to
think.
listen to that at least once a month now because of you, dude. I hate
Well,
you.
I love. I have so many good memories of like listening to that as it's like 8 a.m. and we're driving to a con. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and that
Yeah.
song plays while it's just crispy
The
enough
first time you
outside
showed
to
that
be
to me was
refreshing.
Canterlot KC 2017. We were driving there with
I.
Jack and Jake, and we blasted that in the car, and it was
I.
great.
Okay, never mind. I actually do have an answer. Okay, The Moon Rises.
That's a really good one, actually.
Also, I
Yeah.
just sent you. I just sent you those stories. Andrew, I would recommend, if possible, if you could post those in Twitch chat so people can see them, because I strongly
You can post
recommend
them
reading them.
if you're are you in the Twitch chat? Do you have it open?
Uh-uh.
Okay, I'll post them real quick. Hold on. While I do this, go ahead and ask your
Wait.
next question, Magani.
Before I do that, I just want to ask real quick: Did Hasbro take the original Moon Rises animation down because there's only a re-upload version on YouTube?
Um,
Probably.
a lot of times it's not Hasbro. A lot of times it's that the original creator took it down. So it really
Okay.
depends.
Alright.
Also, I have to give a shout out real quick to Pony Swag. That song came out in late 2011, early 2012. God damn, that was an absolute banger, and to this day I
It
love
was.
it.
Is
Luna's
that
New
the one
Republic
where?
by Cyril the Wolf. A lot of people remember that empty, but the New Luna Republic, good God, that was huge for a long time. Like the Luna fandom was insane in the early fucking show. What were you
It
saying,
was.
Dustin?
I was gonna say, yeah, I remember the days of Nightmare Moon and Luna just being everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, to this day they're still popular, but Jesus, back in the
But
day.
yeah, back then it was like you couldn't go anywhere without people shoving Luna in your face. And
Yeah.
to a point, it almost made me not like her. Like, I ended up gravitating towards Celestia simply because so many people were just so in your face about Luna. And it doesn't make her a bad character, but I don't know. I just didn't want to be part of the crowd that was like being annoying about loving her so much.
I think it's
Uh,
because Luna has more of a flawed personality compared to Celestia.
I also just like the sun. I mean, I think I like Celestia's cutie mark and her coloration a bit more. So I mean,
And I
that's
started
about
loving
it.
Celestia more and more as the show went on, and you got to see more of like what she was like outside of the princess, persona that she puts on. Like the episode, where Starlight makes her and Luna switch places,
Yeah.
and you see Luna just like struggling to smile at like the kids' charity show
And
while
they're like Princess Luna frowns on children's charity or something in the
yeah.
newspaper.
Yeah, it was like no. Yeah, here's what it was. It was like a local school's charity fund displeases the princess.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I I liked Cadence, but only because she was hot. That's the only reason.
All
and
right.
then and then Celestia. I remember. I just remember that scene was famous because of Luna eating just like the banana peel and throwing the rest of Celestia's food away.
Yeah. Um. Oh God. Yeah, I was gonna say like I brought this up. I bring this up every time we talk about fanfics, but dude, Sunny Skies All Day Long could have been an actual Celestia episode in the show. That's how well written that story is, and
I
I'm
would say
really
most people.
sad.
Yeah.
I'm sad we never got an episode like that where she kind of went undercover just to hang out in Ponyville for a day. That would have been great.
The closest we get of Celestia just associating with the common folk is I think it's season 9. It might be season 8, but I think it's 9. There's an episode where essentially Twilight's trying to recreate the essentially the birth of like the sun and the moon as a stage play, and Celestia wants to be in it. She wants to like play like herself essentially, but she's a horrendous actress. And Twilight spends almost the entire show trying to figure out a way to tell her that she sucks. And that's like just essentially the plot is Celestia getting excited of doing like normal pony stuff with the other cast members, and all of them just being perturbed by her horrendous acting skills. It's so fucking good.
Good lord.
All right.
What's next?
Number 7. Do you have a favorite or least favorite moment from the show?
Yeah, everything in pretty much Spike at your service, and then the horrendous episode with him and Cadence. I will never, ever, ever watch that again.
Glad to know they're both Spike episodes.
Wait,
They-
which two were they? Say them again. Sorry.
So the first one is going to be Spike at Your Service, which is
Oh
the one
God, where he's like a slave for Applejack
for Applejack.
because he like messed
Yeah.
up one thing on her farm and decided he had to be.
Yeah, that fucked up everything that I believe about Spike's character. So I
Bro,
pretend that one doesn't
everything that
exist.
had been built up for him crumbled in that one episode.
Or then there's the one where Spike gets to essentially be like Princess for a day, because Twilight's taking a day off, so he's getting to rule the kingdom, and Cadence is like there to like be like his guide or something. And I forget what the line is, but she has one that where she has a line where she's like, "Spike, don't you think you're taking advantage of Twilight right now?" And I about lost my shit. I'm like, you're telling me that this dude was Twilight's fucking bitch boy for the last 5 seasons, and now he's the one taking advantage of her because he had one episode where he used like his powers to get free gems. Like, kill yourself, Cadence. Fucking kill yourself. That's another episode right that I just pretend doesn't exist. Those two.
And also, in general, Spike is just cringe that episode.
Yeah, Spike's cringe in a lot of episodes. People always get confused because so many
He's
people
better
see
as a
that I
side
write,
character. Like,
well, people see that I write Spike a lot, and they're always like, "Wow, you must really love Spike." I don't like Spike in the show that much. He has some moments that get good later on, but the reason I write him is because he has the potential to be great, and it never gets realized in the show. So I just do it myself.
Okay, so little side tangent, but it's still on topic. I'm working on a Power Ponies fanfic. The idea is it takes place in the actual Power Ponies universe. It's not the main 6 masquerading as the Power Ponies. It's the actual Power Ponies. And Spike almost ruined Humdrum for me because Humdrum is the same character every single Power Ponies comic. It's just the Power Ponies almost failed the day, but Humdrum comes to rescue them. And Spike, he just sucks as Humdrum. He just sucks as Humdrum. I just hate him. I hate him. I just wanted to complain about that. he almost ruined a side character I know nothing about, but it's okay because I wrote my own backstory for the character, so it's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Number 8. What season do you think was the peak of the show?
Ooh. I don't know if I can pick one season.
You have to.
Because I'm not sure, like, I can define that. I don't think it peaked in one season. I think it was
how about this? Where do you think the peak started?
I think that the rise began in like season 2, and it went up a nice little hill that kind of like plateaued over at season 4. But then it started from the bottom again, started to rise again through season 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8 and 9. It's just a massive peak. So if I had to pick one, I loved almost all the episodes about the Student 6 in season 8. I love the character moments where they're starting to wrap up a lot of the long-standing story threads from the show's history. They did a lot of that in season 9. And I also just love the introduction and expansion of the worlds in season 7, where you get to see like Griffinstone, you get to see, Ember's like control of the Dragonlands, you get to see the Changelings, all this other stuff, the Kirin, throughout season 7 and 8. So I really think that it rose sharply from like season 5 and 6 were like halfway up, but then 7, 8, and 9 were just this massive peak of where just although there is some filler in there from time to time, almost every episode is just banger after banger after banger.
Nice. Number 9. What was more controversial in your opinion? Twilicorn or Starlight's Redemption?
In my opinion, neither of them are controversial. I think they're both fun. Obviously, Twilight was going to turn into an alicorn. She's a princess.
No,
Okay,
not as in
but
what you think.
Yeah.
What do you think the fandom reacted more negatively to?
The bigger arguments.
Yeah, which one do you think caused more of a shitstorm? Twilicorn or... You weren't really there during season 3, so it's a bit too late, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see the drama. I just always knew Twilight as an alicorn because the very first time I watched an episode as it released with like the fandom in mind was season 4. I remember I went to a Starbucks with my Fluttershy shirt and I watched it there with my sister
It's
while drinking coffee.
it's actually hard to describe just how pissed off people got about Twilight being an alicorn. Like that got leaked ahead of time because back in the day when we were watching the show, the seasons, all of it would get leaked, and it got leaked that she was going to become an alicorn, and a lot of people thought it was fake, and there was people posting blogs on FimFic, posting tweets saying they were going to quit the show and that the writers should just like take a hike and leave forever, and that they suck, and that this was all just to make toys, and that they were going to quit the website and never write fanfics again. A lot of people actually quit the fandom too after she became an alicorn. Like a lot of people left before the show got really fucking good. Like
Yeah.
they made a big mistake, man. Season 4 was like the first god tier season where I don't think there was a single bad episode.
Season 4 is
Just
great.
just to give an idea. Okay, so this is me giving my opinion. Even though I showed up during season 4, I think it is Twilight Corn that is the bigger controversy, because even after joining the fandom in sort of in the middle of the road, not quite early, not quite late, but just in the middle of the road, I was still fresh enough that I was seeing people argue about it all the time. That's how bad it was.
I will say the biggest controversy that happened in my fandom experience, because I remember I remember a bit about Starlight's redemption causing some controversy. I do remember that. I think the biggest one was Flurry Heart being born as an alicorn. That caused a
Oh
lot of.
my god, that was, and it's 100% that she was made for toys, like 100%, because they never show her as an adult in the final episode. They never really do anything with her that actually fucking matters. Like I don't hate her as a character, but she does exist just to sell toys.
Yeah,
Honestly, that doesn't bother me. Like I don't mind
Makes sense
characters
though,
existing
because
to sell
her
toys.
mom
Yeah.
her mom existed just to sell toys, and she's a good character.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we have a lot of
There's-
characters that exist just to be cool and not sell toys, like the Kieran. The Kieran are an awesome.
yeah.
And I also don't remember seeing any like Ember toys everywhere. Like she was a character brought in to be a good character. Who the fuck cares if they have a child character meant to sell toys?
Well, it's because the Amber toys are going to get put in a jar. But
Yeah, the Ember toys were gonna get mistreated very badly.
yeah, but yeah, there's a reason why I had a Cadence is a terrible mom contest and a Shining Armor is a terrible dad contest, and the reason why I'm eventually going to have Flurry Heart is a terrible daughter contest, because her integration as a character was that bad.
I didn't mind it, and I still like her well enough as a character. I think the episode where Twilight has to babysit her is really fun.
Nice. I mean, you can like have your own take on it. It's just the excuse behind including the character is very jarring. That's
The
that's
episode
the
where she had
takeaway.
the babysitter was also just a ripoff of the one where Pinkie Pie had to babysit the Cake Twins.
I'm just gonna say this. This is the fact that we're having controversy right now, talking about controversy because I brought this up just proves
Look,
my
I'm
point.
just gonna tell you something right now, Dustin. Fuck you. Okay? Twilight Corn was way more controversial than fucking stupid ass baby nobody cares about. Nobody cares about Flurry Heart, okay? If anything, I would actually say the series finale, Spike's design, was more controversial than fucking Flurry Heart. But like, no, real shit though. The finale? Dude, Spike's design is stupid. I don't care. Like, I don't hate it. It is, yeah, Giga Chad Spike. Because what annoys me about it is they literally showed what his natural progression should look like in the episode where he became greedy, and then for some reason that's not how he looks when he's older. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I love how it took like the fandom like 5 minutes to draw like an exquisite pencil drawing of Spike as the Giga Chad guy. Like after that episode aired,
Yeah.
like instantly that picture started going viral. I'm like, okay, which of you motherfuckers did this?
And it became canon. If it was in the final episode, it was canon.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move it on.
Number 10. How does it feel knowing that the work you've done has influenced and impacted so many others?
It's still kind of hard for me to believe from time to time because I remember joining film fiction and reading other people's stories and getting inspired to write my own, and just thinking like, wow, like this is great. I'll never like write like this. Like I'll never be the Descendant. I'll never be able to write something that people like as much as like Malajong did or something. And now seeing like the tables turned where I've got people that'll message me and be like, hey, do you think my story is good? Can you read it for me? Or like, hey, I wrote this story after reading Crystal Affair or something, is still mind blowing to me, because I remember writing those stories. When I started writing some of these stories, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just coming up with ideas that I hadn't seen before that I thought would be fun, and just seeing that people like them is just awesome. That not only
Nice.
people like them, but that 10 years later, there are still people that read them and want to write stuff of their own based off of that. Just blows my mind.
Okay, so I have a question before I get into the rest of Unlucky 13. I think my brain fog's cleared up. I just need a lot of coffee. Okay, never mind. I forgot the question. The brain fog's still there.
All
All
right.
right, well, we're
Okay,
moving
never
on.
mind. Never mind. I do remember it. Okay.
Are you sure you remember it? Do you not want to forget
Okay,
it again,
Make
real
up
quick?
your goddamn mind.
what was your name? Okay.
Famous last words.
I was talking to
Next question.
Andy here. Oh, okay. Okay. If there was like any story of yours I could get into, which one would it be? That's my question, not the Unlucky 13.
It's a really good
Wait, any
question.
story that you would get into?
Any story I would get into. Okay, you know what? Do one for me and do one for the people listening.
For you, it would probably be the one that I will return to writing within the next year, which is If Only I Had Time. I think that's my. I think If Only I Had Time is the most ambitious idea I've ever had for a story. Like I've got stuff that I've thought out throughout that story that are just gonna like blow people's minds, and I've written like 30,000 words of it. But just life has been very difficult over the last 2 years, so I haven't really gotten to do much of anything since COVID. Since COVID wrecked my life for a bit.
You
Um,
know,
I think
Dust.
that story. One second. I think that story idea is like, not to toot my own horn, but I think that story idea is good enough to really like change the way people can view like how to write like a romance story. Like it's a very wild idea, because like just like the synopsis of it is literally just about uh, Spike having to go back in time to save the future from some evil that was able to like warp time, is kind of the gist of it. But it's really more of like a coming of age soul searching story where Spike is 20. He's trying to find his purpose. He still lives at the castle with Twilight and Starlight and doesn't know what he's supposed to do or be, like, whereas all of his friends are like, they bear the elements of harmony and go on adventures and save the world. Like, what has he done? And this is his chance to do something that only he can do. And finding his purpose in life through that, but while falling in love with somebody from almost 1,000 years in the past, and then realizing that eventually he's going to have to go back into his own time frame again. And it's just a really good, like, it's a really incredible idea that I think if I ever am able to finish it, like
Yeah,
I
you want to
want to,
finish it?
I think it'll really impact people.
I remember. You need to finish it. Now, speaking of finishing stories, there were some words of wisdom that you shared with me about a month or two ago that have really stuck with me, and I want you to share them with everyone who's watching. I asked you if you were going to read Roseluck's Realization, and you said you weren't going to because it's not finished. And what was it that you said?
Oh, I can't remember. Uh, it was something. It was something to do with. Yeah, I was. It was. Oh, essentially the story. Like, the story is too good for me to keep reading when I can't trust you to finish it. Essentially,
Yeah, you were
like,
like, you were like, nah, I don't know. I was like, hey, you gonna read this? And you're like, fuck that. I've been burned too many times.
yeah, I've been burnt too many times by stories I love never being finished. I'll read it once I see that complete button appear. Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. Moving on. Where was I? Okay.
And for the audience, for like the average reader that may or may not know what I write, I will say, most of the stories I write are slice of life romances with like a tinge of comedy thrown in there, just in dialogue and stuff. So if you don't like that kind of thing, then my stories probably aren't for you. But if you do, I would recommend that everybody read like one of my one shots just to see if it's something that's palatable to you. I really recommend um oh god. Burnout or Innocence. It's a Spike and Starlight one shot romance I wrote. I recommend I think that's a good introduction to my writing style. It's about 5,000 words, so it's not a huge commitment. If you read that and you like it, then I'd recommend checking out my other stuff. That's what
Nice recommendation, idiot. Anyways, everyone read Blonde Moments. That's his actual best story.
Yeah, but
if you
that's
really
a
want to,
commitment.
if you want to, it is a commitment. Also, I will link that story. What is it called again,
Hold on, I'll
Dustin?
send it to you.
No, I mean I'm just gonna look it up. What's it called? I'm on the website. Like, just tell me.
You know what?
Burnout or Innocence.
You know what? I might interview Emo and Edgy one of these days, so I may just read all of your shits just to be better prepared for that interview if we ever do it.
Yeah.
You know something funny. If you look at the cover art for that story, Andrew, that is a story that I 100% wrote because I saw that artwork on Derpy Baru. I based an entire story off of how cute that artwork was because I had to put it on a story some way.
It is very cute. I've already linked it, so other
By
people
the way,
can just go there.
Seven, do me a favor. While I'm going through the rest of the questions, find a good stand-in for the cringe questions because I didn't come up with them.
Oh, I've got some good cringe questions. You don't need me to look. I've got some good ones for him.
Okay. All right. Number 11. Favorite emo and edgy story, and what was your favorite bit of writing Seven? Or of writing Seven?
Just ask the first part. Just ask the first part first.
Okay.
Look, if there's a question mark, wait for him to answer and then ask the next one. That's how I do.
I figured this one would be easy to answer.
Don't
together.
don't confuse Dustin. He's old.
He's autistic.
No, he's getting he. I mean, yeah, he literally is. He literally is.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
he's getting like dementia.
Everybody.
He's like 48 billion years old.
That's true.
31 billion years old.
Okay.
No, I
Also, yes, by the way, for the audience, that is not a joke. Yes, he literally does have it. So we're not bullying. He's cool with it.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I'm on spectrum too. Sorry,
I'm just super. I just managed to be autistic and super successful at the same time. Don't even worry about it. What was the question again? Like you butchered it.
What's your favorite emo and edgy story?
My favorite emo and edgy story? God. I guess for nostalgia's sake, I really like Vaginal Mustard just because that was the one that really popped off after we wrote it.
I mean, look,
really?
Look, like the first annual Apple Family Bar and Grill Festival.
Yeah, that one went
really
hard. But my favorite overall is probably. God, hold on. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick.
I just want
for people in chat, these are not for the faint of heart.
I just want to say real quick, I'm surprised you said Vaginal Mustard because I remember you saying in your Barcast interview you're uncomfortable with that story for reasons.
I am, but I have like really good memories with writing that. It was so much fun.
Why the fuck would you not be uncomfortable with that? You just heard the name.
Yeah.
I would say though, probably the one that's the best that I had that I think is probably like the best as far as ideas we came up with might be fermentation of coagulating anal spewage. The one where essentially we wanted to write our own spin on Applejack's parents dying. So we wrote a story where essentially her, Bright Mac or whatever the fuck his name was.
Bright Mac, yeah.
Bright Mac and Pear Butter.
there's no apples named Bright Max, are there?
Bright Mac and Pear Butter like drowned in a sea of diarrhea after he drank some really rancid beer, and then from the depths of their diarrhea, freaking
The apple,
Applejack, Big Mac, and Apple Bloom are born. Like
which explains why they're so decrepit and like awful in the mustard verse.
yeah, that's exactly
There's actually like a deep lore to those stories that like you really have to get into them to understand.
I love
No.
this
You
story
have
description. In the thrilling prequel to Vaginal Mustard, we find out how Applejack's parents die and changed Equestria for the better.
I'm sorry, the deep lore of something emo and edgy. What the fuck?
Yeah, there's a deep lore to the mustard verse.
There is. We actually, believe it or not, we actually put a like modicum of thought into it.
Every time we write a story, well, it's okay. Look, it is like Lord of the Rings because every time we would write a new story, we would always cross-reference it with our old ones to make sure that it fit into the canon. We didn't want to write anything that would contradict a prior story. So, like, if we even kill off a character, if we want them to be in another story, it has to be a prequel to that one for it to make sense. And in that prequel, it also has to only star characters that would have been alive at that time. So everything has to make sense in that timeline.
Yeah, we put a lot of thought into the mustard verse. I will tell you this. What do you call it? Oh, god damn it! You made me your stupid ass question, Muggy. You made me forget what I was going to say, and it was really important. I know that we wrote fermentation of coagulating anal spewage as kind of a response to that awesome episode with Bright.
We wrote it, dude. We released that a day after the episode.
Yeah, because everybody started writing their own stories about how Applejack's parents died, and we were like, "Hey, maybe we should too." And you're like, "Yeah, well, how should they die? Like, what do you think they actually killed them?" And I was like, an ocean of diarrhea."
And then I was like, from a bad beer.
Yeah. That's exactly how everybody. If you're wondering, that's exactly how those stories start. Me and Andrew will just be talking. We'll come up with like the most nonsensical ideas. Like we have one in the works where like literally all we have right now is
don't spoil it. Not even.
Speaking.
We can't. Okay, fine.
It's just is Fluttershy getting addicted to Oxycontin by eating Granny Smith's shit? Like that's the only thing we have right now, and we're pretty sure we can write like an entire like story off of that.
Speaking of drowning in diarrhea, what is your favorite bit of writing Seven did as edgy?
So actually, I would say like his best writing as part of the collab was. Honestly, I think our best idea came from the one where we were kind of ripping on off of Australia.
Yeah.
He wrote this amazing thing, and I got to add to it. I don't write. I'm not the best at writing the gross stuff, but I do like help from time to time. But he wrote this awesome thing of Rainbow Dash just like scraping at her vagina because with a yeast infection with a cheese grater, and essentially like it just starts leaking fucking like hemorrhoid juice and pus and yeast infection goo and blood and yesterday's cum and all this other stuff, and then like that was great, and then the whole like little message we had.
This is the best podcast.
I just need to check on something. Reggie, are you still in chats?
And then the whole visage of her like flying over to Fluttershy's place and like a stream of red blood and white cum and blue feathers go across it. So Roseluck gets up and starts doing the Pledge of Allegiance to it. Like it's the dumbest thing.
My favorite bit of writing I did for that was definitely the Zecora rhymes. I think the funniest idea I ever came up with was because, we're good friends with Jack of a Few Trades and he's a huge Chiramax shipper. So the best idea that I ever personally had was in our Zecora story. We fucking had it so that like Cheerly was giving birth to her Big Mac's baby. Zecora just walks over, and as the head starts poking out, she fucking bites it off and just kills the child instantly. And I remember we wrote that scene, and I immediately sent it to Jack, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think?" And he told me he was like, "Go fuck yourself, you stupid dickhead, you idiot." And I was like, "All right, Dustin, it's good. Let's post it."
I remember Andrew writing that because I told him that we should like come up with some excuse to use the term post-birth abortion, and he was like, "I got this. Hold on."
Boy, Famous, I was talking over you because I wanted to make sure a certain person in chat was hearing what the fuck you were saying.
Well, what am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to lie? I've never read
No,
something emo and
no,
edgy.
no, no.
Oh,
It's no Reggie. Seven knows Reggie. Reggie is
Yeah.
listening to the podcast right now. At least I think so. He does not know emo and edgy. He's not a fan of the show. So I just wanted him to hear what emo and edgy is.
we have fun here, okay? That's what we do.
Yeah.
Emo and Edgy is a collab that so Dustin originally created the alt account because he wanted to write a story based on an album he had seen, and a song title. So the album was called Sexually Transmitted Torture, and the fucking band was called Torn the Fuck Apart, but they had a song called Sulfuric Semen Skank Dunk Tank, which just made him laugh his ass off, so he wrote a whole story based on it, where, like, Rarity gets taken to... Which is why she's almost in no other fucking stories, by the way, aside from the prequel with, like, her period for a Sunday. But anyways, where she gets, like, dunked into a vat of sulfuric semen skank, or sulfuric semen, and like Twilight has to drink the juices that are left over to become an alicorn, and that's how that started.
Yeah,
And
I
then
love
Dustin
that.
at that point I read that and I was like, this has potential, but Dustin, this could be even grosser. That's how the collab started.
Well, I love that. Like right off the bat, we came up with just the standard of the chapter title always just being a great quote from the story.
Yeah, like my favorite of all time to this day. I know yours is Bright Mac let out a ghastly fart or whatever. My favorite to this day is, now, do you remember where Papa Apple is buried?
Yeah, that's so good. Or from the original one, where it's like, we're doing the Lord's work, Twilight.
Yeah, we're doing the Lord's work, Twilight. What's the one from the Granny Smith story?
Oh, hold on.
What's that chapter title? It's really good from what I know.
Let's see
Getting
here.
so deep into the lore.
Oh, dude, there's a lot of lore.
Dead fetus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and another really good one was from, I think it was the Australia one, actually. No, it was third trimester whore fetus feast, and it was fucking, the quote was, after all, this is the first time any pony thought to prepare roast fetus. Like, yeah. Those stories get crazy.
You're going to eat your sister, Rarity.
Yeah, your gaggle of hemorrhoids cannot hide from me. Which is
now,
one of my favorite lines I've ever written.
This child is making noise, and frankly, I find it unpleasant.
I don't care what other ponies say. I like Bush Light, which, by the way, for reference, in that scene, I had told Dustin that I don't like Bush Light. I think it tastes like piss. And so he goes, okay, so what if Cadence actually just drinks piss? And I was like, all right. So I wrote her just drinking piss right out of a bladder she had ripped out of a pony, and she just wipes her lips after and goes, I don't care what any pony says. I like Bush Light. Like,
you know what's great? You know what's shocking is that we wrote 12 stories, and I somehow managed to find like fresh cursed cover art of every character we decided to write.
I know.
This fandom produces so much good trash art that I fucking love it. Like that. Like the more you look at that picture of Zagora,
Klumpa is the best
the worse
one,
it gets.
And Klumpa is the best one. He's the one who does like the inbred hillbilly hick characters that are like on the vaginal mustard one. Or sorry, no, on like Rural Midwest Incest Fest. Like, they're just so creepy, and I love them.
They all look like inbred crackheads. And I remember I found them all on like one single like page. Like somebody had like uploaded all of them to some like blog post site or whatever.
I still love on the Australia parody where the chapter, the story title was just like 800 characters long, and it was that one stupid band name. And the author's note was at the top, and it was just like, I'm sure when you saw that title, you thought the new Australia book had just been released. Sorry to disappoint you.
And not enough people appreciate what I did with the summary on that, where instead of Rainbow Dash flies yeast, it was Rainbow Dash's dried yeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I thought that was fucking genius.
Good discussion, but we still have some questions left in the
Okay.
13. Okay. Number 12. Pick a racing game. Speed Punks for PS1 or Mad Dash for Xbox, which you bought, Andrew.
I love Mad Dash on Xbox, but I'm gonna have to go ahead and pick Probably Crash Team Racing.
No. Out of those two, Speed Punks or Mad Dash?
I mean, I'll take Crash Team Racing.
Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, Crash Team Racing.
Yeah, Crash Team Racing is the better option of those two, I think.
I know neither of those games. I wasn't a PS1 kid.
I still haven't played Mad Dash aside from that one time we played it. And when you move here, we'll finally be able to play that. We can play 2K5, all those fun games.
Oh yeah, back on OG Xbox. Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, next question.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving.
13, the last one. Ask each one of us a question related to the fandom.
Yeah, so you have to ask each of us a personalized question related to the show or fandom.
Okay. I guess I'll start with Muggany because you're on the left. So, which character do you think best represents yourself?
Starlight.
Okay.
It's mainly because I might have a bias for her.
I was gonna say, what about that disabled pony, like in that season 7 episode?
No, that's you.
Yeah, if there's
Okay,
ever a
that
pony
works.
that's like, there's ever a pony that's just like had their legs beaten inwards by like a baseball bat, we're like, look, Dustin, it's you.
Yeah. No. Okay. So I wrote plugging my own figs. I am the host. I can do what the fuck I want. I have a story called Changeling Theory. It is a Student 6 horror. She is the main character. The way I explore her in that fic explores some themes that are very relatable to me. The idea of growing out of your original personality, growing to a point that the you were 5 years ago is practically indescribable. You barely remember who that person was. And it just explores some existential themes, and I like that I can do that through Starlight because she is a good character to explore. So yeah, I would definitely see her.
That's fair. That's fair. I love Starlight too, but I'm not gay. Sorry, Andrew. So I got a good one. This is more of like a deeper personal question. Why were you and I the only ones who didn't care for the Moon Dancer episode? Like, what drew you to the conclusion that Moon Dancer was actually the one in the wrong there?
So I remember watching this episode with you, and there was so much fandom drama because was this a season 4 episode or season 5?
I think it was season 5. All I remember, the main thing I remember is that it was just the one where Moon Dancer, ended up living like a really isolated, depressed life after Twilight missed her birthday party.
Yeah, my thought has always been this. First of all, there were 3 other ponies that went up to Twilight and asked if they were going to Moon Dancer's birthday. So it's not as if no pony showed up to her birthday. Okay? She had guests. It's not like she was left abandoned entirely. I think the grudge that Moon Dancer holds against Twilight in that episode is absolutely unrealistic. I mean, Twilight was literally having to save the entire planet from destruction by Nightmare Moon. And the fact that Moon Dancer can't get over that and is still just upset about it being her birthday is ridiculous. I think that's just very immature of her. It's very closed-minded. And the other thing that also makes me upset is there are people who to this day will shit on Starlight's redemption and her backstory. Well, like, all that happened was her friend left her. Yeah, left her alone. Unlike Moon Dancer, who actually had people show up to her fucking birthday party, which is canon, because they asked about it, like in the first episode and in the flashback, they showed up. Starlight had no friends, and yet everyone shits on her and says her backstory is stupid and she has no reason to be jaded and upset that people aren't there for her.
Who is the character in the movie? It really feels like every time there's a villain with a tragic backstory.
Fizzlepop Berry Twist.
Yeah. People always try to find an excuse to shit on the villain's backstory. She actually had a good backstory. Her was actually perfectly understandable,
Yeah,
and people are calling it flimsy.
Tempest Shadow or whatever. Feels a
Yeah,
popular
Yeah.
twist.
and how
But
else?
but the other thing that annoys me about Moondancer is that, like, bro, if you've held a grudge for this long about not being invited to a birthday party, that's a you problem. I don't understand how anyone could even assume that Twilight was in the wrong for that. She was assuming the world was about to end. I'm sorry, Nightmare Moon coming back is more important than your birthday, you self-centered fucking idiot.
Yeah, and I remember I
Yeah.
posted a blog about that. It generated a lot of drama, a lot more than I expected. Because what I used to do, and Mugging, this might have been before I met you, but what I used to do, and they're still up on my page, is anytime a new episode would come out and I watched it, I would usually post a review like same day, give it like a little rating or whatever, and just post my thoughts on it. And I did one for that, and I posted that I did not like it. I thought that Moon Dancer was incredibly immature. I was like, she has other friends. Why would she let one person not showing up like really impact her life to that level, to that extent? I remember, I wrote something that she reminds me of, like, she reminded me of those like really awkward girls that go to Barnes and Noble wearing pajama pants and their
I
pussy stinks.
I will Jesus Christ. I will say this. I think the problem is that a lot of bronies can identify with Moondancer because no hate, but a lot of bronies are not the most socially adept people. So they really identify with a character like Moondancer who is just miserable because a friend left them. You know, if you don't have a lot of friends, I definitely get it that one friend cutting you out and just not talking to you anymore without a word can definitely impact you. But again, you know, my mind always flashes back to she was literally going to save the fucking planet from Nightmare Moon. Get over yourself, idiot.
I agree.
Yeah.
And honestly, to your point about Starlight, I
And
do think that
empty
her.
plot filler brings up a good point, by the way. Had they hold that thought also, that would have been a good time to have a plot centered around like maybe Moondancer has like some unrequited feelings for Twilight at that time, and the fact that she just left is what makes her so upset. But the problem is Hasbro wouldn't let that fly because that's lesbianism, and they're only allowed to vaguely reference that.
I was gonna say, like, that was 2016, like that the world is still not ready for lesbianism, and you thought they
Yeah,
would do
remember
that
the ending
like
of Korra?
10
People
years
got so
ago.
mad about that. But anyways,
It
what was
literally,
your thought?
I was gonna say, to your point about Starlight too. Yeah, I agree that her backstory makes more sense. Being left alone, essentially feeling like you're worthless and that your talents mean nothing. That makes a lot more sense because she also had nobody to express those emotions to, and I relate a lot to Starlight and kind of her thing of being a natural leader, but really a lot of it's just a mask she's wearing to hide some of her inner feelings. It's the same reason I vibe a lot with like Haida and Agretsuko's final two seasons. Like they just hit me. It's very similar. But let's also not forget about the episode with Starlight's parents and learning how obsessive they were over her and not letting her do stuff and not letting her express herself to an extent that she wanted to. That can also have like a major impact on how you grow up as well, wanting to be your own person and really acting out in a variety of ways that are self-destructive. Me and Starlight and Trixie all share the thing of honestly being a bit narcissistic of thinking that what we do is what the right choice and that we're important, and but really it's a lot of the times it's just a mask to hide really deep-rooted feelings of self-worth issues. uh, but with Moondancer, like she had other friends, so that just tells me that she mistreated her other friends because she was mistreated by one. So like, yeah, Twilight, it wasn't nice for Twilight to never talk to her again afterwards or explain the situation, but but if you're letting one person ruin your entire life, you've given that person far too much power over you.
Not to mention, we've all had friends who at the last minute are just like, hey, I can't show up, or just don't even say anything and don't show up. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but if they're a close friend, you know what you do? You reach out and say, hey, sad you weren't here. Everything okay? Anything you need to talk about? You reach out to them. You don't fucking sit there and stew in your negative feelings for a billion years.
Or be like me,
Honestly-
hey, kill yourself. You doing all right?
Honestly, Moondancer probably has autism.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go into
she was
that
written
because
that way.
I'm not going to go into that because look, unless they outright say it in the show, I'm not going to like
I don't.
place a
It's
mental
my
illness.
headcanon. It's
Okay,
my
that's
headcanon.
cool. That's your headcanon. That's fine. But also, I'm not going to give her that excuse because the show writers didn't outright say it. I just think she's a self-centered idiot. I think
I,
she's very
I,
narcissistic. I think she has narcissistic tendencies in that episode, and I think unlike characters that have a healthier outlet for that narcissism, like Trixie, for example, where she does her stage show, and that's her narcissism. She has an outlet where she shows herself to be the great and powerful Trixie, whereas deep down she knows she really isn't. You know, Moondancer's narcissism was, I'm the center of attention. Twilight not coming to my birthday was the end of the entire universe, even though Nightmare Moon was the actual end of the entire
okay.
universe.
I do have to give it credit, some kind of credit, because it did show a little bit of good writing when it was a callback to the episode of the very first episode of season 1. I thought that was a good callback, but that's about it.
I mean, it's decent, but at the same time, anyone could make that callback because it's literally the first scene in the entire show. It's so easy to load that up and then be like, yeah, let's do something with this later.
Here's why I like it. It kind of breaks the episodic format a little bit and tries for something a little more linear and actually makes the world feel a little bigger. That's why I think it's good.
My problem is I just think Moondancer is a fucking cunt. I don't like her. I think she's just an asshole. And every time I watch that episode, I'm like, I get that Twilight ignored you, but she's trying to be nice and apologize, and you're just being a fucking bitch this entire time. I don't get this emotional about any other drama in the show, but god dang, dude, I just don't like Moondancer. I thought Moondancer, that was the ultimate like guilt trip, woe is me episode, and I hate when people guilt trip others. And that extends to ponies in the show. And Moondancer was pulling the ultimate guilt trip, woe is me act.
I think you should jerk off with napalm jelly.
I remember that actually caused like a minor division between me and Jack for a bit when that came out, because he loved that episode. He vibed with Moondancer in that episode. So whenever I like didn't know that and I just approached him about it and just tore it the fuck apart, he actually like legitimately got upset because it's like I was tearing a part of like him apart, So that makes sense. But all right, what else you guys got? You have any other questions?
Gotta be.
It's time
we're
for
done
cringe.
with the. Yeah, we're done with Unlucky 13. It's now time for cringe. Someone, what do you have for us? I'm curious.
All right, so I've got like 5 or 6 really good cringe questions that Dustin can go into detail about here. Okay. So, Dustin, I've got some fun stories. A lot of these are going to be convention related, so they'll be a lot of fun. I also have a couple emo and edgy questions. We did already go into detail about that, but there's a few jokes in there that I wanted your thoughts on. So the first one I'm going to start with was, I wasn't there at the time, but tell the story of the Crystal Fair fart, please. The toasted lasagna or whatever.
It was toasted ravioli, which is a St. Louis delicacy. You got to get it at Emo's Pizza, okay?
Okay.
So it was a con I went to with me and Jack and this girl that I had met online. And it was one of those situations where she presented herself online as actually being like, healthy and attractive. You meet her in person, definitely not.
You got catfished.
I got catfished, but I'd already bought the 3 tickets, so whatever. And I remember it was the first time Jack saw boobs. I'll let him tell that story when he's ready.
Maybe that'll be part of his interview one day.
Anyway, the con itself was great. It's where I got like my Fleur de Lis plushie. I got to meet some like people that were pretty big in the fandom. They actually got to join my panel and everything. It was a lot of fun. But here's the situation. It was really awkward for the most part because that chick like asked me out like right before we left, and I told her, no, you're too fat for me. I was kind of a douchebag then, so it led to this whole thing of her being depressed like the entire time, which I thought was hilarious.
Well, there's the narcissism.
at the time. Anyway, so we're at the hotel room. It's the first night. I tell them like, hey, you guys have to try toasted ravioli. It's like a delicacy up here. So we went to Emo's, we bought some, and we brought it back. For those of you who don't know, why would any of you know this now that I think about it? I have IBS, and I'm lactose intolerant. I do like to eat stuff that has like cheese and milk products in it, but I just get really, really sick. Vomiting, fucking farting a bunch, all that stuff. And the toasted ravioli that I had gotten had like a lot of like cheese in it for whatever reason. Fast forward like 2 hours, and it's like, I don't know, 11 p.m., maybe like midnight. Me and Jack are in the room. I'm sitting on the couch. He's sitting on the bed, and then the girl's sitting on the other bed. And and I just rip like a silent but deadly fart. But it's one of those farts that's like so thick and hot you can just feel it like singe your butt hairs and like slither out of your pants. And I was like, oh god, this is good.
That's very distinctive.
This is gonna cause some nonsense. And instantly, I remember Jack. He gets up to use the bathroom. Right, he walks out and he just stops by the door and like sniffs the air, and he just goes full panic mode. He's like, "Dear God, what is that?" And I'm just like, "Sorry, I ripped ass, bro." And it just starts to emanate through the room. So he like dives into the bed and tries to bury his face in a pillow. Not working. The girl's hiding under the covers, trying to get away from the fucking menace that has like encroached upon the once breathable oxygen. So now like it's just starting to circulate the room and it's getting stronger. Somehow this fart has found a way to just bastardize the very scientific laws that we've come to know as human beings, and it starts to grow stronger mid-air. It's like it's combining with the hydrogen particles in the air and just spreading even further. So Jack runs into the bathroom, like locks the door just to be safe, and then instantly I start hearing him gagging and almost vomiting in the bathroom, right? Because it somehow followed him in there. And it just started to grow and grow. This oppressive odor must have gotten into the ventilation system, because Jack runs outside, blows his nose to get it out of there, and it follows him outside. He can smell it in the fucking hallway. And he just comes back in, tears in his eyes, ready to just admit defeat to the fucking green menace. And I'm just like dying laughing. And then he just gives me the most evil stare, like holds his breath, walks over to the bed, and just lays down on his stomach and waits for it to pass. Kind of like a tornado moving through a neighborhood and just hoping that you survive the chaos because you've run out of time to get out of its way. That is the story.
This dude like created like a late Triassic era atmosphere in that fucking room.
You told the story multiple times. I can tell.
It's a great story.
That is a story I'm very familiar with.
It's a true story too.
I wish I had been there. I wish I had been there in a demented way.
Did it last for like an hour?
Yeah, it lasted a long time. Like there were remnants of it, like there hours later. Like it was just one of those legendary farts. So
I've told this story more times. I don't think you've ever actually had the pleasure of telling this story, Dustin. You may have told it on your Barcast interview, but it's been a while since I've watched it. Why don't you tell everyone about the Midwest Brony Fest 2016 incident?
Oh, no.
I can only tell this from like a certain perspective because I was blackout drunk for most of it.
So tell them the idea. Start this with the idea that I had for our drinking game, because in a real way, I almost have to accept responsibility for how wasted you got.
So it started with wanting to do an MLP drinking game. It was me, Flutter Priest, Andrew, and was it Jack? It was Jack,
yeah.
And
Jack's always there for these. Poor dude.
Yeah, Flutter Priest brought some like alcohol, like some vodka and stuff, and then we just had like a bunch of Gatorade. And essentially what happened is we were wanting to do like an MLP drinking game, and Flutter Priest had printed off like this like little checklist of like anytime, X happens, take a shot or whatever. And I remember I was talking to Andrew. I was like, no, we should do something with like a Trixie episode or something. And Andrew essentially came up with the idea that every time she refers to herself in the third person, take a shot. We were like, we'll just watch like the first 2 Trixie episodes.
That was
we did not realize how many times she says her own name in those fucking episodes. I'm talking like by the halfway through the first episode, I had taken like probably like 10 or 15 shots by that point. But here's the problem. Everybody else was like sipping on their mix of Gatorade and vodka. Mine was half Gatorade, half vodka, and I was taking like gulps. I had completely finished my entire bottle off by the time we were halfway through the episode. And then it started to kick in, and everything after that moment is a blur. I remember about 7 minutes into the episode, and everything else after that I don't remember fully.
Oh, I gotta tell you. Okay, so we actually got multiple noise warnings because the people near us, because Dustin was like laughing and yelling so loud during this. We got to final warning, Dustin, and had to tell you to shut up and make you get in bed. Like, we had to stop watching because they were actually saying they were going to kick us out.
I don't remember
That's how drunk. Of course you don't. You were so fucking wasted. Anyways, continue from when you woke up.
So here's the last thing I remember. I remember crying on the mattress with Flutter Priest's arm around me. I remember seeing a hotel staffer in the room, but I don't
That's
know
when they
what they were
told us
doing.
to shut up.
Okay, I wasn't able to understand human language at that time. Um, and then the last thing I remember is laying down. Flutter Priest tips me over onto my side just in case I vomit. I guess is what he told me. And then the last thing I remember before passing out is just vomiting all over the floor. I remember just like I felt the rush just shoot out of my mouth, and then I go black. Here's where things get a little crazy. I wake up the next morning, and I'm still a little tipsy. Like somehow that thing just infested my blood while I was asleep. And the first thing I notice is there's a huge pile of vomit on the bed next to me, about 2 inches away from Flutter Priest, who was sleeping on his side. And I was like, oh god, I guess I threw up. And I'm about to get out of bed, and I look over the edge of the mattress, and there's vomit all over the floor. Like, I'm talking like a streak of it all around the length of the bed in between the two beds, because the way they had it was a bed was on this side of the room next to a wall, and on the other side was the other one. But the sad part was a little bit of it got on my messenger bag and my Fleur de Lis plushie I had purchased recently.
Oh, God.
I
And
also
I was like,
almost
oh.
put my signed Starlight poster there. Thank God I moved it before we went
Yeah.
to bed.
And then I remember I took my messenger bag. I was like, I got to shower. Like, I just feel gross. As I'm walking to the shower with my messenger bag, because I was going to shower with it to clean it off, I start noticing like a trail of vomit around the room. There's some on the TV, on the bookcase, the dresser. It's on the wall leading around the curve towards the bathroom. And here's where things get really weird. There's vomit on the floor, on the walls, on the mirror, on the fucking ceiling, and in the shower. The shower wasn't even a safe space. The curtain was covered in it. At some point, and nobody noticed this, I must have been sleepwalking. At some point while asleep, I got up and just started projectile vomiting all over the room while probably trying to take a leak or something like that while still like fucking faded
And you
as
know what the best
hell.
part is? You know what the best part is? So after this happened, Dustin actually went back. I guess he just went back to bed and passed back out because I remember distinctly Jack. He was in the bed with me, and he got up to go and take a shower because Priest was like, "Yeah, I don't need a shower yet." And so Jack, this poor dude, just like in the fucking fart story, he walks into the bathroom, and all we hear is, "What the fuck, Dustin?" And, like, everyone woke up at that moment, and we all ran over to the bathroom to see what was going on. Like, he had the bathroom light turned on, and like the vomit on the ceiling was even on like the fluorescent light, so it was like causing the lighting in the room to be like a mixture of white and brown. It was so gross. Continue, Dustin.
So that's the state of the room when we get up, and we're like, I'm thinking, oh god, I can still barely move. Like I was still feeling sick as shit, and I'm like, okay, let's, we have to. What do we do? I was like, I guess we can start cleaning, and I think it was Priest. It's like, fuck no, dude. We've got to get to the first panel of the day. It starts in like 20 minutes, and I was like, but it's checkout today. And we were like, yeah, that's why we got to move fast. And then, like, so you guys essentially helped me get my clothes on, gave me my bag and everything because I was in no shape to do any kind of quick movement. And we're trying to dodge the vomit all over the floor and all over the walls and everything, not touch any of it.
Do you
And we
remember
get out of
drinking
the
more
room.
Gatorade? No, do you remember drinking more Gatorade? Did you forget this part? This dude drank like this green apple Gatorade. It was like really bright green, like not the lime one, but like if you've seen green apple, you know what it looks like. And he starts slowly lurching towards me and fucking throwing it up because he couldn't hold anything in his stomach still. So there's like this green bile just coming out of his mouth, and I just fucking freaked out into the corner of the room.
You.
Well,
you
and here's the kicker, okay? For context, the cleaning lady stole the Bluetooth speaker that Jack had brought with
Yeah, it
him.
was a nice Bose speaker he had bought.
And the staff admitted it. They said, "Sorry, we're not responsible for any objects you left in the room." So whatever. So Jack had no love for these people. Anyway, so as we're leaving and they're helping me walk outside and we're walking away, oh, the cleaning lady passes by us and she's like, "Oh, are y'all room like 242?" I was like, and she was like, "Okay, are you guys checking out?" I was like, "Yep, have a nice day," and we got the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And we drove back by 4 hours later, and they had the door open and the heavy duty cleaning equipment like going in and out of that room. It was
Yeah,
the
and
funniest thing.
we also made sure to
Okay.
tell Dustin, pay cash, so they couldn't charge his card later.
Yeah. So we did. It was fucking great, dude. It was great. Like it was horrible in the moment, but looking back, it's one of the one of the most memorable times that I have with the family.
So, I remember you mentioned you think you might be banned from Motel 6.
Yeah,
They
that's
have
why.
my
That's why.
they have my ID.
So have you tried checking into a Motel 6 yet?
No, I never want to check into a Motel 6 again. I'd rather just get a nice hotel in the future. Pay the extra $20 a night.
That's fair. Motel 6 is shit.
It is.
Yeah, they tried to
It's-
make us pay $10 for the Wi-Fi, and it wasn't even good.
Okay, the one here in my hometown is pretty cool because it has one of the good bars here.
All right. Well, I have another important question for you, Dustin.
What's that?
Why don't you tell everyone here a very important story? Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Because this is one of my favorite stories ever. So, this isn't a cringe story, as in, like, it's not a gross out story. But if you've ever worked a split shift at a job, it's definitely a cringe story. So, why don't you tell the move, bitch story from Arby's?
Oh god, this is so long ago. Okay, so for context, to anybody watching, I spent most of my working life managing restaurants. For the first few years of my working career, is primarily what I did. At the time, this was back in 2015, maybe. So 9 years ago, I was like 22 or 23 at the time. I was the general manager of the Dairy Queen in Tawnytown, Arkansas.
Arby's.
Arby's in Tawnytown, Arkansas. Sorry, they got mixed up. And that place, it was in rough shape when I took it over, but we were trying to get things fixed, make sure we had stable staffing, all this other stuff, whatever. That store was unique, and it was a busier night store than it was a day store. So regularly, I'd work like my shifts would usually be like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. like 4 days a week, and I'd work like a partial day on like Saturday and Sunday or whatever. Anyway, there was one day that was just really difficult in particular. It was just one of those days, like, half the crew called out, just shit wasn't going my way. Drive times were ridiculous. And finally, like 6 o'clock rolls around. My closing manager's there. Things are pretty dead. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going home. I slept like 2 hours last night, and I gotta open again tomorrow. I was like, I'm just gonna go home. So I drive from Tawnytown all the way back to my home, which was like 30 minutes away in interstate traffic. And as soon as my head hits the pillow, my phone starts ringing, and it's my assistant manager. And I get online. He's like, "Bro, I need you back here right now." I'm like, What the fuck do you want?" And he tells me, "Bro, 3 school buses full of cheerleaders and football players just showed up, bro. Please, there's 3 of us here." And I just give the most audible sigh that anybody's ever had in the history of this planet. And I hop in my car, I drive back there, and I'm just secretly hoping that they take care of all the customers by the time I get there, so I don't have to do anything. But sure enough, I get there. They had shut off the lights to the outside of the building, even though we didn't close for another 2 hours, just to try to discourage people from coming in. And there's 3 school buses taking up all our parking spots. I walk in, and there is a gaggle, an absolute horde, a conundrum of teenagers in there. And they were right. one of the school buses must have been like all football players, and the other two were just a ton of cheerleaders. And they were everywhere in the restaurant, in the chairs, on the tables, sitting on the fucking front counter, blocking the drink machine, just being loud and obnoxious. And I was like, holy fuck. So I walk back, I run back into the kitchen, I tell my kitchen guy or my assistant manager Jordan, like, get out of here. If I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna work where people can't see me. And I look up at the screen. We have drive-through orders and front counter orders waiting 45 minutes. Okay.
Oh god.
45 minutes because there was just so many people all at once, and they all had to order the most obnoxious shit like chicken sandwiches and meat mountains and all this other bullshit. So I'm there and I'm just starting to like make the orders one by one. That's how I've been in this situation before. I know what I'm doing, just one at a time. So I start with lobby, prioritize that, get like the first 5 out, right? And I essentially pull the person off of taking orders on front counters, have them start running out orders. Okay, we're making a little bit of progress. But then it's time to move on to drive-through. Those customers have been waiting. They see the school buses in the parking lot, so they know what's going on. They're nice enough. But I'm trying to get their order together, so I figure, you know what, front counter is busy. I'll just go ahead and bag this myself and hand it out. So I'm getting ready to hand out their shit and all that, but they ordered a sweet tea, and we were out of sweet tea and drive-through, so I had to go into the dreadful lobby to go get some. And so I run my cup up there, and I'm running around the corner. I'm going out into the lobby, trying to get to the sweet tea machine, and there's like these 3 teenage girls standing right in front of the tea urn. And they're like on their phone and kind of talking to each other about some stupid shit. And I'm like, excuse me, I need to get some sweet tea. They don't even look up. They don't look up or acknowledge my existence whatsoever. I'm like, excuse me, I need to get to the sweet tea, please. I have a customer waiting. Nothing. And so finally, I'm like, excuse me, can I please get through? I need to get some sweet tea. And one of them just looks up at me, laughs, and then goes back to playing on her phone. So I literally, without being violent, nothing violent. I literally put my hand through the 2 of them and split them apart. I'm like, move, you stupid bitch! And I got my fucking sweet tea. And I remember at that time though, I got my sweet tea, and then I just grabbed the entire urn of sweet tea and brought it to drive-through. I was like, I'm not dealing with this nonsense again. And they were in shock. Never in their, I could tell they were the kind of girls who had not heard the word no very much in their life, that were used to getting their way. So to be called a stupid bitch by a manager of a restaurant who like just shook them to their very cores. And yeah, that actually happened too. Was I in the right? No. Did I follow like
You were in the right.
You were 100% in the right. You were in the right.
They were rude. You're trying to do your job and they're in the way. You were in the right.
100%.
You put them in their place.
I'm surprised that never came back to haunt me, honestly. Like they didn't file a lawsuit for emotional damage.
So I have another story related to this that I need you to tell. Please tell the St. Patrick's Day story where the girl normally worked night shift and had to come in for that one day shift and it led to her downfall.
I can't. It's too much for me to remember.
No, you have to. Come on.
Just the long and short of it is St. Patrick's Day. Our Arby's, for whatever reason, there was like a parade or a party down the street or something that we didn't know about. So I staffed like, enough for a normal lunch, but we got our asses absolutely handed to us, just nonstop drive-through wrapped around. My kitchen person had to leave like right in the middle of lunch because their kid had an emergency at their preschool. And the girl I had working the drive-through, I normally had her working the night shift where she had support from a cashier. But I didn't realize that she had an anger management issue until we started getting our ass kicked, and her face was just getting flustered, and she was getting loud and angry. And she fucking told one of my customers to go fuck themselves over the drive-through.
Do you remember? I actually remember exactly how that went too. It was they came up. They had ordered like a bunch of food. It was like 5 people for a family, and they get to the window, and she gives them their food, and apparently she was like, or they were like, yeah, is there any chance we could go ahead and get some Arby's sauce? And she was like, yeah, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And then apparently the next time it was like some fucking old lady over the intercom, which is how you heard it the second time, was like, oh, please, is there any way that you could add this in there? And she was like, you can go fuck yourself too.
It was so bad. I just want you to know I fired her the next morning. I had to. I understand having like mental issues or whatever. Like I get it, but I couldn't let that fly, or it would send
The way
a
he told
very
the
bad
story of
resume.
firing her makes me laugh every time though I think about it. Because like apparently she came in with a smile on her face and was like, "Hey Dustin, I'm just really happy we can put what happened behind us
It was
yesterday behind us. I'm feeling a lot better today. I'm really excited to get to work." And Dustin was apparently just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need you to clock in and come out to the lobby with me real quick."
so yeah, exactly what it was I told her to take like a day or two off of work so I could have a time to recover and come up with a game plan with my district manager. Because anytime you fire somebody, like I'm sure some of you know this, but when you fire somebody in a company, it's not as simple as just telling them to get lost. You have to have like proof. You have to have like the right paperwork and all this other stuff just to make sure that you don't have to worry about any legal trouble later on if they try to pursue or say that you fired them without cause. So I had her take a couple days off, and then I called her and I was like, "Hey, you're coming back to work tomorrow. Do you think you can come in and actually open for a change? I know you usually close, but if you could work an opening shift, I'd really appreciate it." She was like, "Wow, I've actually always wanted to open. It works so well with like my boyfriend's schedule or whatever like that." She's like, "Yeah, I'll definitely open." So she comes in at like 7 a.m. and I'm like helping get the store set up and everything. And yeah, she comes in kind of like Andrew said, like, "Wow, I'm so excited. I'm sorry about the other day, but I'm ready to work, and I really kind of thought through things, and blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Yeah, can you go ahead and clock in, and can you meet me at that table in the lobby? I just want to talk real quick." And my district manager's out there because he had to be present, so I sit next to him. She comes in, she sits across from us. She's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, so it was brought to my attention that you used it was that you used profanity," as my district manager said, and I was like, "Yeah, towards the customer." As you can see here in the policy book, it says that you're not allowed to show disrespect or rude behavior towards the customers. That unfortunately goes far beyond disrespect and rude behavior. So go ahead and clock out. You're no longer employed by Arby's.
I'm curious, what would you have said if she was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna clock out," and just started working?
And I would have just clocked her out. And
Oh
honestly, if
man,
somebody if
dang
somebody
it.
if somebody if somebody refuses to leave the premises, we just call the police.
I was hoping it'd be like George from Seinfeld. She's just like, "Nope, I still work here."
God,
Oh my god.
it was so
Uh,
bad, dude. I tried to block that day out of my memory. It's one of the worst days of work I've ever had.
All right, I've
All
got a
right.
couple more questions for
I
cringe
was,
questions.
I was gonna
Okay.
tell a story, but yeah, let's keep going.
Okay. So, Dustin,
Yes.
is there anything has there ever been an emo and edgy story where you feel that we went too far and even you cringed as we were writing it?
Honestly, it's the Queef Huffers one. It's one of our most tame titles, but I remember when writing that story, it was just really gross.
And that story made me retch and gag a few times writing it because it's just nasty.
Like the scene of like Princess Celestia just shoving her snout into Granny Smith's crotch and just inhaling a deep breath to like get that old lady vagina smell, and then like she turns around and has like a fucking centipede running across her face. It was just the most obnoxious thing. That one I actually took down for a bit. That's why it has far fewer like votes in general than most of our stories. Because after about 30 dislikes to 0 likes, I was like, this one's a little too much, honestly. So I took it down for a bit, then put it back up later. That one was really gross. Just a lot of the imagery and smells that we were writing about just really fucked me up with that one.
Tell the story of why we had to take down what was it, menstrual munchies.
Minstrel Munchies was actually the third story we wrote. So
to this day, that's the only other one that makes me gag.
So we went sulfuric semen skin, dunk tank, vaginal mustard, which was kind of like our breakthrough into pop culture, and then we wrote Minstrel Munchies. Now here is the thing for people that don't know, and why the fuck would you know? All those stories are based off of band names and song names from porno grind and gore grind bands, which is like a subsection of extreme metal.
What's the website that I found that had all these?
It's like the Encyclopedia Metallum.
Oh yeah, the Metal Archives.
Yeah. Anyway, so um, we essentially just find some of the most not like outrageous song titles and band names that we can, and just try to write stories based off of them. So we found a band called Minstrel Munchies, and I found it through a band called Anal Blast, who went on tour with them, and then they ended up naming a song after them because I guess they were a more prominent figure in that scene. They have like 12 monthly listeners or something. Um, and so we decided to write a story about Rainbow Dash, or Rarity working at an ice cream parlor, and when they run out of cherry dip, she decides to use her period blood and menstrual chunks to make people's ice cream. That's the gist of it. But why we had to take it down for a bit was, and this was not our fault. This was about a couple weeks or a couple months before the Ohio shooting at the
Yeah, the
mall.
Dayton, Ohio shooting.
Yeah, the Dayton, Ohio mass shooting. The reason that we took it down is because the shooter was the lead singer of the band Minstrel Munchies. Uh, and even though we love to like meme and do like retarded stuff for fun, uh, that one was a bit extreme, and we definitely didn't want any negative attention, thinking we were like making fun of like a mass shooting or something like that, since they happened so close together. Uh, so that was just an extremely unfortunate coincidence. But then after a while, I put it back up, and I was like, honestly, that just adds to the Mustard verse lore. Honestly, like,
It unfortunately does. It unfortunately does add. It was not a school, from what I know. He just opened fire at a mall. He also killed his sister, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And,
anyways, off of that, yeah, that story we had to take down for that, and we also took that down because we were being obnoxious in the comments of that story. Like, it was right after the Patreon thing went out on FimFic, but for some reason your name would be the color of your Patreon sponsorship tier. So like me, you, and someone else all had like gold names, and we were posting comments like, "Sorry, you must have a FimFiction bronze level account or higher to view this comment."
Jesus.
All right, I have 2 more cringe questions for you.
Okay, and by the way, after we get through the cringe questions, I think it'd be a good place to end unless we have more to talk about.
Yeah. Okay, so I have 2 more cringe questions for you, Dustin.
Okay.
Actually, real quick, before I get to the cringe questions, Brittany bought me for as an early birthday gift something that I think you would like. We're gonna roll back to the start of the show. She got me. I don't have it yet. She's not giving it to me till my birthday, but it's a leather-bound copy of Jurassic Park and the Lost World as one book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I can't wait to show that to you.
I can't wait to see it. I've got the collector's edition copy, like the artist rendition.
Yeah, where it's like 1 and
Barnes
2.
Noble. Yeah, but it's got that white cover and like the hardbound and silver pages and all that.
That might be what it is. We'll find out. I haven't seen it yet. Only the cover, so that might be what it is. But okay, so another gross question I have for you. What's the most disgusting story you've read on FimFic that wasn't by us?
Let's see here.
I remember Shining's Flurry was definitely that was a controversial one.
That one wasn't gross as
my favorite is
kind of weird.
My favorite is Curb Stomped Marble Pie to this day.
That one's very funny.
Because I love when he's like, it's beautiful, drops it on the floor, but not beautiful enough, and just stomps on it.
Oh yeah. Most disgusting. God, that's tough. I mean, I've read some like disgusting.
Well, what's your favorite? What's your favorite gross fic that we haven't written?
My favorite gross fic that we didn't write. Shockingly, I don't read like a ton of gross fics. I will say that I don't know if you can call it gross because it's so funny. The Great Reverse Gangbang of '69 is a classic.
Oh my god. Okay, so lore alert. You know Dunsparce, my friend Jake. You've met him, right, Dustin? Occasionally, every so often. His friend in high school, back when they were in high school, logged onto the school computer and wrote that as a joke on his account, and then just never did anything else.
Yeah.
that was his random high school friend that wrote that.
My man wrote a Spike story without
And it's
realizing.
hilarious. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's great. It's a classic. It's definitely
Shut
the
up, you
troll
stupid
thing.
hoe ass, bitch ass, whore ass, motherfucking wench.
No, it was. Hey, shut up, you stupid ass, hoe ass, whore ass, cum dumpster ass, motherfucking wench. And then it jumps to the next paragraph, and Spike whispered in her ear, "Just kidding. You know I love you, bitch."
All right. So that's a good answer. All right. Last cringe question. I hope you're ready for this one. Would you like to sing the My Little Pony intro with us?
Oh my god.
No, I can't.
Why can't you?
Because I'm working while I have to do this. This has gone on far longer than I anticipated.
No. We're
My
just gonna sing
Little
We're just gonna
Pony.
sing the intro. My Little Pony.
Pony.
My
My
little
little
pony.
pony.
I used to wonder what
To wonder
friendship
what
could
friendship
be.
could. My
My
little
little
pony.
pony. Until you all
And
shared its
Shared
magic
its
with
magic
me.
with me. Big
Big
adventure and
adventure,
tons of fun. A beautiful heart, faithful and strong. Sharing kindness, it's an easy feat. And without my friend, it's all it's
He
incomplete.
messed it up. No.
My little
Little
pony,
Pony.
you know you're all my very best friend.
friends.
All right.
That was a mess.
That was a mess. You messed
I
up
thought
one of
we
the
did
lines.
good.
It's magic makes it all complete.
I think we can do acapella.
You all butchered the theme song with me. That's right, Gio. Yeah, we could definitely do some acapella. We could be what's that group that's literally just acapella and they're like world fucking famous. They do a
It's the ones who did the Carmen San Diego soundtrack, or the theme song. I know what you're talking about.
I'm wondering. They did I think they did
Pentatonics.
it for
I think you're Pentatonics. We're gonna be the new Pentatonics.
Pentatonics. Yeah, I'm gonna look this up.
You'd know them. Anyways, well,
I guess I'm hoping they did this song for a certain Crash game. That's why.
oh, okay. Empty Plot Filler has a question. What's worse, the intro song or the writing for Spike's character?
Writing for Spike's character.
I like the intro song. I don't know what
The intro song's good. Look, if you skip over the intro song because you think it's too girly or cringe, you're a fucking idiot. You're already watching My Little Pony as a grown ass man. Get over yourself.
Yeah, take the L.
Like
Yeah.
just get over yourself. No one if you care what people think about what you like, you're already making a mistake. Like what you like. If it's cringe, oh fucking well. Like as long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters. But
Okay,
I always just find it so funny when people are like, I don't watch the theme song. That's cringe. Like, bro, what do you mean that's cringe? You've written a story where like Celestia has sex with Twilight. Like, what are you talking about? You write incest.
Okay, that is okay. Well, on the topic, we do plan on having people who aren't fandom related on the podcast, and I wonder if all the talk about My Little Pony is going to deter them away. I legit wonder that.
Well, you know what? If it does, that's a shame.
It
Because
is.
they'd be missing out on a great 3 hours with us.
They would.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Dustin, is there anything else that you want to really say to, the viewers, anyone who's gonna watch this in the future, your fans on the website?
This is just me. I'm real. I do my thing. I have fun, and I plan on finishing my old stories that are currently incomplete. I promise.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I haven't uploaded any updates or anything for a while, but it's only because COVID fucked me over for a couple years. But we're back on the come up, so expect it soon.
We still have to finish our collab too. We have a good one.
Yep. All right. That's it for me then. Thank you guys. Okay. It was fun.
Very welcome.
All right.
So, do our outro, Muggany.
All right, that was our podcast for today. Just a little bit of news before we close out. We plan on starting a Patreon. Our next guest will be Rob Kickern53 and Les.
Oh my God! Is that the author of My Little Dashie?
I thought he just wrote My Little Dashie 2 Dash Harder.
Is that the author of Princess Celestia Sideswipes a Dodge Grand Caravan?
Actually, yes. Yes, he is.
That's a really good story. I think we should just talk about it.
Yes.
I think I'm going to research that story some more and ask him a question based specifically on that.
Yes. We're having that author on next, unless there's another author you really want to fit in, Seven.
No, let's do Rob. Rob's awesome. I love Rob.
He's great. We do plan on starting a Patreon by next episode. We do plan on monetizing off this. No, we're not starting a charity. We're keeping the money, but we're going to use that money to improve the quality of this podcast. That money be used for new equipment. Another way we can make moolah off this is if you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel to help us get monetized. That would also really help. What are other ways we can make money, Seven?
The Patreon. Obviously, you can subscribe on Twitch.
Sponsors. Sponsors. I'll try to get us sponsors.
Okay, yeah. Sponsors are great. Can't wait to be sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Yes.
I actually have already had them reach out to me before I was a affiliate, so actually I could reach out to them now. It's funny.
Real shit. I want to reach out to Manscaped to see if I can get them to sponsor a fanfic.
Also, Empty Plot Filler brings up a good point. You might want to do a subscribe star because Patreon sucks.
Okay.
Subscribe star is definitely the way to go. Look, Patreon kicked Femfic off, so I don't like them that much. They kicked off Femfic for having horse porn, but then, like, they put on so much porn on that website. It is ridiculous. It is so hypocritical of them.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. Yes. Thank you to our donators for the Twitch stream today.
Yeah, thank you. I want to quickly go through that, actually. Thank you for the follows, Is Your Boy Inc. and 60. Thank you for the Prime subscription, 60. That means a lot. Thank you for the 1,000 bits, Empty Plot Filler. We really appreciate the support. You know, it all means a lot. I hope that the Ruth cam really brought you guys some joy earlier. The one that you redeemed. Ruth is a very good dog. So I'm going to have to add some more redemptions on here that are actually like podcast related. So please remind me to do that, Mugany.
Sure thing. And sorry, I wasn't like I didn't really participate much in this episode. I had brain fog. I didn't really come prepared, and Seven knows Famous way better than I do, so I just let them talk. But next episode, I promise I will be participate more, because the whole point of this podcast is I do a bunch of research on the guests, so I know them very well. So yeah, it'll be a different change of pace next episode. Other than that, not much left to say. Is there anything else, Seven?
Not really. Like I said, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you were so unprepared for me, Mugany. I respect it.
It's because I already know you. I didn't expect I would have anything. I would need to have anything ready. And then I realized, as we were talking about your writing, I realized I only read one story by you.
Wait, so which one did you read?
It was Trixie works earns part-time wage for full-time hours.
Oh, that was a collab. I wrote that with him.
Yeah.
We just Trixie earns part-time wages with full-time hours.
Yeah, that was just a collab where we were just exercising our demons from working in fast food.
We got to keep writing that one because that one was actually funny. I love the part where Trixie's like coughing over the phone and Flitter's just like, "Alrighty, we'll go ahead and slap a Band-Aid on that cough and get your butt in here. You got to work."
Flitter is honestly like an elite manager. I'm gonna be $150.
She is. My other favorite thing with Flitter was like when Trixie told Spike, or Trixie tells her wages. She's like, "I make 0.5 an hour," and Flitter's like, "Really? I thought they outlawed slave wages in Equestria."
Oh well.
Oh well.
Yeah, it's a great story. All right. I gotta go to work.
No, sorry, real quick. And then like Trixie, the moment she gets a job, literally the second day, she does that thing every new employee does. She's like, "Trixie worked very hard on her first day. I think she has earned the right to take a day off," and tries to call in.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
honestly, that every chapter in that story is just an exaggerated experience that we've actually had in the restaurant industry. Whether it's
Yeah.
cheerleaders destroying the women's bathroom after a football game, or it's the super hyper great manager that just makes you feel like shit because you don't work hard enough all the time. Yeah, bad employees trying to call in when they really shouldn't. Just the whole thing.
yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and do our real outro. So,
Okay,
um,
last thing I want to advertise is just join our Discord. That's where you can get all the updates. I posted the link and the chat. Some of you are already from the Discord. Maybe some of you are from FimFiction. If you're from FimFiction, not in the Discord, join the Discord. And with that, it's time to sign out. I have been Muggany.
I've been Lucky7.
I'm famous last words. Thanks for watching. Yes.
Also known as Kink182. Look up that account, everybody.
King
Fuck off.
182.
Actually, wait. Didn't you change the name from that?
No, it's Kink 182. That was my porn account.
Wait, what's your porn account, Muggany?
It's breathtaking carnality.
Ah, okay. All right. Anyways, y'all have a great night. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream.